Book 15, Priceless Treasure, Chapter 1, The Fiends Assemble. 2-star mission. Escort from Royal Wing City of the Nightblaze Prefecture to Blue Maple City of the Rainbow Prefecture, a trip of nearly 4 billion kilometers. Compensation, 200,000 inkstones. Although the distance was that of 4 billion kilometers, generally speaking, when riding on a metallic life form, a few decades was enough. An escort mission of a few decades which would result in a reward of 200,000 inkstones was quite a high compensation for a 1-star fiend or a 2-star fiend. You choose this one. The youth raised his head in surprise, glancing at Linley's team. The look on the youth's face caused Linley to feel suspicious. What? Is there a reason I shouldn't? Oh. Give me your fiend medallion for a moment. The youth didn't say anything extra. Linley's team immediately handed their fiend medallions over. With a flip of his hand, the youth brought out gemstone which radiated with violet light. He placed this gemstone next to the 3 fiend medallions. Under the violet light, strange characters suddenly appeared in the air above the 3 fiend medallions. Linley's team was rather surprised. What's this? A line of numbers? BB asked. An extremely long number was currently hovering above the fiend medallion. The youth said very casually. That's the serial number for your fiend medallion. Every single fiend has a different serial number, and we can verify your identity through it. The medallion also has your star rank as a fiend. As he spoke, he recorded down the serial numbers of the 3 fiend medallions. And then, he handed the 3 medallions back to Linley's team. All right. What the 3 of you need to do is go to the city gates 20 days from now at dawn. At that time, staff members of the Fiend Castle as well as the escorted guests will be waiting for you there. They will verify your fiend medallions, and thus they naturally will be able to verify your identity. Does it cost anything to accept missions? Linley asked. Linley had heard that most Fiend Castle missions required a fee to be paid first before acceptance. The youth laughed. That depends on the mission. Taking on escort missions doesn't require a fee to be paid. Linley's group left the Fiend Castle, returning to their own residence. So we have 20 more days. In 20 days, we'll leave this place. BB tossed his grass hat to the stone table, then sighed. We've lived here for 30 years now. I'll miss it. Linley couldn't help but let out a long breath. They had come to the infernal realm so long ago now. They had finally become fiends. In 20 days, they would finally begin their journey en route to the Indigo Prefecture. Linley. Delia's face had a hint of a smile on it. Tarasi, Dylan, and the others arrived here in the infernal realm long before we did. Where do you think they might be? This time, when we leave Royal Wing City, will we meet them on the way? Tarasi, Dylan. Linley couldn't help but think back to the things which had happened in the past. All of them are together. Tarasi and Dylan, in particular, aren't just gods, they are divine beasts. They should be able to have the ability to somewhat protect themselves. Linley looked towards the distant horizons. Only, this infernal realm is too vast. I don't know where they were transported to. The infernal realm had 5 great continents, as well as the Starmist Sea and the Chaotic Sea. From the material plane, one could be transported anywhere and appear within any of those 7 areas. Any 2 places had an extremely vast distance from each other. If they weren't sent to the same continent, meeting would really be difficult. BB hurriedly shook his head and said, right. It isn't so bad for Tarasi and the others in the infernal realm, but Olivier came alone. Him, a demigod all by himself, most likely will have a bit of a tougher time than we did when we first came. Without having come to the infernal realm, who would have known that it was like this? Linley laughed calmly. However, it makes sense. Countless experts from material planes have been transported here over countless years, and the infernal realm itself has many races, it is only natural for there to be so many experts here. Linley's group felt very relaxed. After all, they now had a wealth of over 100 million inkstones and had become fiends. In the infernal realm, they would have no problems establishing themselves somewhere. Linley's group naturally also had more confidence with regards to heading to the Indigo Prefecture. Within the 20 remaining days, Linley's group quietly trained. Delia naturally focused on absorbing that high god spark. However, absorbing a high god spark would require dozens of years. In the blink of an eye, the 20 days had passed. This dawn, the cold, foggy dawn air still hovered about Royal Wing City. In mid-air, the violet moon could still be seen. But of course, it was already past the curfew time period. Linley's group got up early and headed towards the gates of Royal Wing City. Royal Wing City. BB sighed emotionally while walking. In the future, I probably won't have a chance to come to Royal Wing City again. Don't overthink things. Linley, seeing the emotional look on BB's face, wanted to laugh. Oh. The gates are up ahead. We're here. BB's eyes lit up, and he immediately looked over. Where's the metallic life form? Why can't I see it? BB looked carefully in the air above the outside of the city, but couldn't see any trace of a metallic castle. Linley felt a hint of puzzlement as well. Logically speaking, there should be a metallic life form outside. Let's head outside then discuss it, Linley said. As they stepped past the gates, a white-robed silver-haired youth, upon seeing the fiend medallions on their chests, immediately walked over and asked in a low voice, "Are you here for the escort mission to Blue Maple City of the Rainbow Prefecture?" "Right." Linley's group nodded. The silver-haired youth laughed and nodded. "Then please first go to the second floor of the restaurant next to the gates. The fiends who are participating in this escort mission are all going there. Next to the gates." Linley turned to look. The restaurant at the south, or the one at the north? The one in the south. At the door, you'll see someone like me, dressed in white. When you go, he will receive you. The silver-haired youth said. Linley's team was puzzled. The escort was supposed to gather together and head out at dawn, so why were they going to a restaurant? However, the restaurant was within Royal Wing City, and violence was forbidden within Royal Wing City. Linley's group didn't have to be afraid of taken advantage of or bullied. Naturally, they casually returned to Royal Wing City again. At the same time, other fiends who had accepted this mission were also guided to follow Linley and the others into the restaurant. "The three of you, please wait a moment." The white-robed, blue-haired youth smiled at the entrance to the restaurant. He had seen his colleague outside the gates instruct these three to come over, so he knew the three were also here for the mission. Behind Linley's group were two more fiends. Linley glanced at them, and made his judgment. "All gods. The five of you, please come with me." The white-robed blue-haired youth immediately guided Linley's group of five to the second floor of the restaurant. Right now, the halls of the restaurant on the second floor were bustling. There were 40 or 50 people gathered here now. At the stairway to the second floor, there was a black-robed man standing there. A fiend castle staffer. Linley could immediately tell, because this person held within his hand a gemstone that was shining with a violet light. "The five of you, please permit me to make an inspection." The man smiled. He immediately used that gemstone which emitted that violet light, placing it close to the chests of Linley and the others. That violet light, upon shining down on the fiend medallion, immediately caused the fiend medallion to display a serial number and star rank. The black-robed man was holding a book in his hands. At the top of it, he wrote down the serial number of the fiends who were taking part in this mission. Only after completing each verification was the black-robed man certain of every person's status. "The five of you, welcome." The black-robed man smiled and nodded. Only now did he permit Linley's group of five to enter the center of the second floor. A silver-haired old man who on his forehead had 3 long black horns arranged in a circular manner came walking over. With a smile, he said, "Welcome, the 3 of you. Our expedition will occur not at dawn today, but at sundown. Please enjoy a repast here first. We will pay for all your expenditures here." Sundown. Although Linley's team was puzzled, they didn't mind. 1 or 2 days, to deities, was nothing. Linley, Delia, and Bibi found a corner for themselves in the dining halls of the 2nd floor, then sat down at the table and casually ordered some dishes. "Linley, I keep on having the feeling that this escort mission seems to be a bit unusual," Delia said softly. Linley nodded slightly. "Right. Look. Although the vast majority of the fiends here are gods, there's even around 10 high gods. High god fiends are generally 4-star fiends, or even more powerful. For them to have invited so many fiends, the price isn't going to be low. The missions given out by the Fiend Castle didn't have a randomly assigned remuneration, it was in accordance with a baseline which the Fiend Castle had come to. To invite a 1-star fiend or a 2-star fiend, the price wouldn't be too bad. But for 4-star fiends or 5-star fiends, the price would be astonishing. "Lord Learmonth Lee Armeng Si. Lord Learmonth, you came as well." Suddenly, several voices rang out in the center of the restaurant. Linley's group couldn't help but turn to look as well. A skinny, callous-looking youth with blue hair was walking up. Immediately, quite a few fiends stood up to welcome him, especially the high gods, more than half of whom stood to greet him. The callous youth named Learmonth entered, then swept the restaurant with his gaze, which finally fell upon 3 handsome siblings that looked very much alike. A hint of a smile appeared on his face. "Edwards Aida Ysi, you 3 brothers have taken on this mission as well? It seems I'll have it easy, then." The 3 laughed and stood up. "Mr. Learmonth, since you've taken on this mission as well, then this road will most likely have no more dangers for us," one of the 3 exceedingly handsome brothers said. Right now, the silver-haired elder with the 3 black horns began to chortle as he walked over. "Mr. Learmonth, Edwards, and Co., on this trip, will be troubling you." In the eyes of the silver-haired elder, there was no need to pay any attention to the other fiends. Anyone who knew Learmonth or the Edwards brothers wouldn't be angered by this. Learmonth was a mighty 6-star fiend. The Edwards brothers were all 5-star fiends. Generally speaking, the most powerful fiends, the 7-star fiends, would be scattered everywhere in reclusion. Asking them to take on missions was very difficult. However, generally speaking, 6-star fiends were already extremely powerful. When one of them joined a mission, there would virtually be no problems on a mission. "Who is this Lord Learmonth?" Not too far away from Linley, someone began discussing in a low voice. It seemed that it wasn't just Linley who was puzzled. "Lord Learmonth is a 6-star fiend, one of the ranked experts of our Royal Wing City." Linley's team couldn't help but feel startled. Last time, when they were heading to Moon Lake Castle, the strongest figure had been Loisius and the other 2. Loisius was only a 5-star fiend, but he was still able to kill the master of the Moon Lake Castle without giving him a chance to fight back at all. 5-star fiends were already so powerful, what, then, of 6-star fiends? In addition, a 6-star fiend attending an escort mission? This caused Linley to feel astonished as well. The large group continued to eat delicacies until sundown. During this period of time, Linley's group learned that there were nearly 20 high god-level fiends who had accepted this mission, and nearly 100 god-level fiends. So many fiends, and the leader was a 6-star fiend. To have a 6-star fiend take part in an escort mission of 4 billion kilometers, the remuneration would be astonishing. Tens of times or hundreds of times greater than that for a god-level fiend. This escort mission is definitely not ordinary. Linley was rather nervous. At sundown, outside Royal Wing City, Linley's group, under the guidance of the silver-haired elder, quietly entered a metallic lifeform en masse. Almost as soon as they entered the metallic lifeform, without even having a chance to decide where to sit, the metallic lifeform began to move. With a swish, the metallic lifeform disappeared into the horizons, leaving Royal Wing City and heading towards Blue Maple City. Book 15, Priceless Treasure, Chapter 2, Extremely Heavy Casualties. The metallic lifeform headed forward at high speed. However, the people within it couldn't sense any turbulence at all. Right now, Linley's group was all within the main hall of the metallic lifeform. The layout is pretty good. Linley looked around and sighed in approval. The metallic lifeform had transformed to a fairly large size. There was a main hall in the center, while behind the main hall there were rooms lining each side. The silver-haired elder with 3 black horns laughed and said, "Everyone, this is the main hall. The wine here is complimentary, and we've also invited some culinary experts. If you want to eat anything, you can instruct those two and they will have the chefs cook for you." As he spoke, the silver-haired elder pointed towards 2 white-robed youths nearby. The fiends present all smiled. These employers really were very considerate. Behind the main hall are the living areas. There are a total of 130 rooms. You can choose whichever one you like, 1 room per person. If people want to stay together and have their rooms fuse, just give the instructions to my metallic lifeform directly. The silver-haired elder smiled. For example, you can say this: Camden Kongden, merge these 2 rooms. Camden is the name of my metallic lifeform. The fiends all nodded in satisfaction. Metallic lifeforms had intelligence. Naturally, they could change their insides easily. Camden, merge these 2 rooms together, Linley said. Immediately, the 2 rooms in front of Linley suddenly changed. The 2 doors transformed into a single door, while the wall between the rooms disappeared as well, forming a single large room. The bed in the room instantly changed to a larger size as well. "BB, you can stay in the nearby room," Linley turned and instructed. Linley suddenly found to his surprise that at this moment, BB was staring unblinkingly into the distance. Linley followed BB's gaze. Oh! A youth dressed in a black warrior's outfit and an adorable young girl with braids was in that direction. BB was staring at that girl. "BB, what is it?" Linley was somewhat surprised. Delia's face had a hint of laughter on it. "Linley, could it be that BB has fallen for that girl?" Linley's eyes rose upon hearing this. He took a close look at the adorable young lady. Her eyes were fairly large, and had a hint of a sly, playful look in them. The girl had noticed BB looking at her as well. She couldn't help but stare back for a moment, and then give a little cute sniff. "Humph." And then she turned and said, "Big brother, that guy wearing a straw hat is so annoying." The youngster turned over, smiling towards BB, Delia, and Linley. And then, they entered their own room. "BB." Linley called out. "She went in her room already. Why are you still standing there like an idiot?" BB stood blankly in that spot for a long moment, then suddenly turned to look at Linley. "Boss, that girl is way too cute." This loud shout called quite a few distant fiends to turn and look. Linley and Delia were shocked for a good long moment by BB's shout. "Let's go into the room then discuss it." Linley immediately grabbed BB by the collar of his clothes and pulled him directly into the room. BB was so excited that his eyes were shining. "Boss, I've discovered something." "Speak, what have you discovered?" Linley and Delia both laughed while looking at BB. "I'm absolutely certain." BB balled his fists. "There really is such a thing as love at first sight." Linley and Delia stared, stupefied. "When I saw her, wow, I felt my entire body grow warm. My mind went completely blank, like I suffered a soul attack. I only woke up a long while later, and when I woke up, I understood." BB was incomparably excited. My purpose for being here in the infernal realm is, chasing her and getting her. BB balled his fists. His eyes filled with resoluteness. Linley and Delia couldn't help but begin to laugh. What are you laughing at? BB snorted. Boss, think about it. How could there be such a coincidence that after so long in the infernal realm, I would meet her as soon as I took on an escort mission? This is destiny. BB arranged his straw hat and even slightly straightened his hair, saying in a bright voice, I have decided that before we reach Blue Maple City, I will successfully chase that girl. Boss, you just wait and see. And then, BB immediately walked out. This BB, Linley didn't have any idea as to what to say. Delia laughed. Linley, don't worry. Just let him do as he pleases. What do I have to worry about? Linley sighed. BB has grown up with me. After all these years, he's finally taken a liking to a girl. That's a good thing. Only, frankly, BB was certain that he liked her after a single glance. Linley still found it inconceivable. Is ordinary logic applicable to BB? Delia said. Actually, Linley was quite happy. Who BB liked was his own business. He himself couldn't interfere, of course. Life in the metallic creature was very quiet. Although they ran into a few common bandit groups on the way, with so many fiends standing there, the bandits immediately were terrified into scattering in all directions. In the blink of an eye, 6 years passed. During these 6 years, Delia primarily focused on fusing with her high god Spark, while Linley was training. As for BB, he chased that girl. And as a matter of fact, BB only needed 3 days before he and the girl were together. Both of them were sly, lively spirits, and when they were together, they were exceedingly happy. That big brother of the girl, seeing them like that, didn't oppose it. After 6 years, BB and that Nissa girl were already a couple. Everyone throughout the metallic creature knew that there was a pair of jokesters aboard. In a room within the metallic creature, 3 Linleys were seated meditatively on the ground, dressed in an earthen robe, a light green robe, and a sky blue robe. Linley's divine earth clone was pondering gravitational space. Although Linley was capable of using the supergravity field technique, he was still feeling around at the edges of the gravitational space mystery. Linley's fastest improvement speed was seen in his divine wind clone. Fast, slow, sound waves, music. Linley's level of understanding in these 4 profound mysteries was rising at a stable rate. In particular, the fast and slow aspects. According to Linley's calculations, given his current speed, in a few decades, his complete fusion of these 2 profound mysteries might be completed. As for Linley's original body, it was focusing on gaining insights into the elemental laws of fire. With regards to elemental affinity, Linley had a high level of affinity for earth and wind. His affinity for fire came afterwards. As for the other elements, his affinity was exceedingly weak. To date, Linley had 2 divine clones. Naturally, Linley wouldn't give up a chance to increase his strength yet again, and so his main body began to train in the elemental laws of fire. I still haven't been able to grasp the basics of the profound mysteries of gravitational space. But I have for the elemental laws of fire. Linley laughed at himself. But of course, I've only grasped the basics for the simplest essence of fire profound mystery. For all laws, be it the elemental laws of fire or the elemental laws of the earth, the simplest profound mystery was that of the essence of fire, the essence of the earth, etc. Also, when training in the essence of the earth or essence of fire, there are some commonalities. Linley thus found it much easier to grasp the basics of the profound mysteries of the essence of fire. Linley, you woke up. Delia opened her eyes as well. How is your training proceeding? Linley rose to his feet. Not bad. I'm halfway through mastering the profound mysteries of the laws. Delia said. The elemental laws of the wind in total had 9 types of profound mysteries. Prior to fusing with this high god spark, Delia had already known 4 of the 9 profound mysteries. After spending 6 more years, Delia had gained insights into yet another one. Let's go. Let's go eat something and drink something. Linley and Delia walked out, shoulder to shoulder. Their little journey to the dining hall was very peaceful. Most of the fiends were training in their own rooms. Right now, there were only a few fiends in the main hall, but of course, there would definitely be 2 people there. Bibi and Nissa. Linley, Delia, what a coincidence. You came as well. Someone walked over from by Linley's side. It was Nissa's older brother. Salomon hello man, it is rather coincidental. Linley laughed. Come, let's go have a drink. Salomon, as Nissa's older brother, was a high god level expert. However, Linley guessed that this Salomon was a very ordinary high god. This was because the most powerful people on this mission were the 3 5-star fiends and the 6-star fiend. Linley's group headed straight towards Bibi and Nissa, who were currently joking and teasing each other. Nini, tell me, why are you girls so beautiful and yet so foolish? Bibi sat there on the chair, staring at the nearby Nissa. Nissa considered for a moment, then immediately said, oh, I know. Adorable Nini, please speak. Bibi looked at Nissa. Nissa wrinkled her little nose, then said, women are beautiful so as to let you men fall in love with us. As for why women are foolish, it's to make me fall in love with you. Bibi stared. You are foolish, thus you fell in love with me. If I wasn't foolish, why would I fall in love with you? Nissa had an innocent, puzzled look on her face. Oh. Irritated, Bibi slapped his head. Why was it that he could never overcome Nissa in these debates? The nearby Linley and the other 2, hearing this exchange, couldn't help but begin to laugh. Bibi turned his head, looking at Linley in surprise. Boss. Heh, you keep chatting. We'll sit over here. Linley laughed as he spoke. All of the tables here were fairly small, circular tables. They could sit 3 people. Even 4 people would find it to be rather crowded. Linley, Delia, and Salomon sat down in a corner of the hall. Linley, Bibi really is rather adorable. Salomon laughed. And then, he paused for a long moment, as though considering something. Suddenly, he stretched out his godrealm, covering Linley and Delia within the reach of his godrealm. Huh. Linley and Delia looked at Salomon, puzzled. Salomon laughed, Delia, Linley, there's something I want to tell you. However, I can't let others hear this. Thus, I am completely shutting out the sound. Linley and Delia looked towards Salomon in astonishment. What was there to be so secretive about? There are very few people who know this rumor. However, over these 6 years, my little sister and your little brother, Bibi, have become quite close to each other. And so, I'm going to tell you this rumor. Salomon's face grew very solemn. Rumor. Linley and Delia were both puzzled. Salomon said slowly, do you know where this escort mission started off from? Started off from? Linley frowned. Wasn't it in Royal Wing City? No, Salomon shook his head. Based on what I have heard, the escort mission started off in the distant Peakstone Prefecture. Peakstone Prefecture. Linley was greatly shocked. Peakstone Prefecture was a prefecture in the west part of the Redbud continent, while Nightblaze Prefecture was in the center of the Redbud continent. As for the Rainbow Prefecture, it was in the east part of the Redbud continent. Right. Salomon said solemnly. According to rumor, on the way over, the escorts suffered an enemy attack on the way over, and virtually all the fiends died. Only a few were left. Therefore, the employer hired another group of fiends in our Royal Wing City. Linley and Delia were both shocked. You knew this, but you still came. Linley immediately discovered a problem in this. First of all, it is only a rumor. Salomon immediately laughed bitterly as he spoke. And second of all, I only heard this rumor half a year ago. Linley immediately came to the conclusion, everyone had headed out 6 years ago. Since Salomon had heard it only half a year ago, then it seemed he had heard this from others in the metallic life form. This is just a rumor, Linley said. Salomon shook his head, lowering his voice. Don't disbelieve it. Think about it. Why would they have us gather in the restaurant and be afraid to let us openly and publicly gather at the main gates? We waited until nightfall, then quickly and stealthily slipped into the metallic life form. Before we even had a chance to get our footing, the metallic life form immediately began to move. Hearing this, Linley began to think that it made sense. Therefore, it's best to be cautious, Salomon said softly. If we really run into any danger, those enemies won't be too vicious to us. We can immediately scatter and flee. Saving our lives matters the most. The failure of the mission just means that we won't get compensation. Linley and Delia both nodded slightly. And then, Salomon released his Godrealm. The two began to casually chat and drink. Suddenly, a divine sense swept across the entire metallic creature. Linley and Delia didn't notice it at all. Only, Salomon's face changed dramatically, and he let out a low growl, a divine sense scan. Divine sense scan. Linley was shocked as well. Book 15, Priceless Treasure, Chapter 3, Probe. Linley, Salomon, and the others instantly disappeared from the round table, reappearing at the translucent window. They all looked out through the translucent window. In mid-air, there were hundreds of figures standing there, with the leader being a tall, slender figure with hair that was graying but a face which was exceedingly handsome. He seemed like a young man, and he had a sword on his back. Carrying a sword on his back. Linley was puzzled. In the infernal realm, very few experts would carry their weapons on their bodies. Most of them would keep them stored in their interspatial rings. So many high gods. The handsome youth's face suddenly changed slightly as well. As the leader of an extremely famous bandit group within a circumference of 1,000,000 kilometers, he knew exactly which caravans could be robbed and which ones could not. Lord, shall we attack? A god behind him said quietly. The handsome youth didn't hesitate at all, immediately turning. Attack? Your brain has problems. Everyone, retreat. Instantly, the hundreds of bandits all fled downwards at high speed. As for the metallic life form, without being affected at all, it continued to make its way forward. Within the metallic creature, Linley's group returned to their original seats, and that Salomon laughed calmly. Looks like I was a bit too nervous. Those bandits are far more cowardly than I had imagined. Those people immediately fled before our people even went outside. Linley laughed as well. Just then, he really had been quite startled. When Salomon had said there was a divine sense probe, but he himself hadn't discovered it, naturally that meant that the prober was a high god. To Linley, a high god was someone he had to be cautious about. Mr. Salomon. Delia laughed. Don't worry too much. No matter how powerful the bandits are, our metallic life form has Mr. Learmonth, right? With him, it's not necessary for us to worry. Delia wasn't too worried. Salomon nodded in agreement. Delia, you can't say that. Linley said. Oh. Delia looked at Linley. Linley warned, bandits groups are virtually all made up of gods. Generally speaking, bandit groups that have a high god are top-of-the-line groups. If a bandit group is so powerful as to have multiple high gods, then the number of gods in that group will also be exceedingly large. Salomon and Delia both nodded. They all saw how that bandit group just now had a single high god, but hundreds of others. If they really attack, true, we don't need to fear the experts amongst them, as Learmonth and the others will deal with them. but with enemy forces being so numerous, we might be faced with the combined attacks of a large group of gods. Linley said resignedly. After all, we only have 100 or so gods. Delia just came to this realization. If they truly ran into a chaotic group battle, then how many people could Learmont kill by himself at the same time? And even if he was able to save Linley and the others, perhaps he wouldn't even care to. They were neither family nor friends, why save them? It seems it is still best for us to be careful. Delia said. Boss, what are you all talking about? Bibi and Nissa walked over together. When Linley looked at Bibi and Nissa, he couldn't help but start to laugh. Bibi, I've discovered that you and Nissa actually look rather similar. What? Bibi looked confused, and then a look of sudden understanding appeared on his face. Oh, I get it. Boss, have you discovered that you and Delia also look rather similar? Linley was startled. He couldn't help but share a glance with Delia. Husband and wife would naturally have a bit of the same aura. This is known as spouses look alike. Thus, Nissa and I look rather similar. Bibi's eyes fluttered as he looked at Nissa. Nissa, am I right? Nissa snorted, but her eyes had a hint of delight in them as well. Linley and Salomon exchanged a glance, then laughed. Bibi and Nissa, it seemed the two of them really did have a possibility of being together. The metallic lifeform's journey was very peaceful. Linley's group spent most of their time in training. Although Royal Wing City and their destination, Blue Maple City, were 4 billion kilometers apart, that was if they traveled in a straight line. Linley's group did not, however, travel in a straight line. They had to avoid some dangerous areas. In the blink of an eye, another 4 years passed. In Linley and Delia's room. Whew! Linley opened his eyes. Delia seemed to have sensed something, and she opened her eyes as well. Linley, why did you stop training? Delia, I've reached a bottleneck in my training of the profound truths of velocity in the elemental laws of the wind. Linley said with a strange expression. Bottleneck? How is that possible? Delia was greatly startled. Generally speaking, only after reaching the very end would a bottleneck appear when one was training in a profound mystery of the laws. During the early and middle stages, one might be slow but one wouldn't encounter any bottlenecks. Linley, last time, didn't you say that it would take you another 20 or 30 years to completely fuse them? Delia asked. Delia, 4 years ago, I guessed that I would need another 20 years before reaching a bottleneck, and then a few more years to break through the bottleneck to achieve mastery. Linley shook his head and laughed. But I was wrong. The profound mysteries of the laws aren't what I took them to be. I thought that the further I went along, the harder it would be. I didn't train in the fast and slow aspects separately. I compare and contrast them against each other and train them together. At first, it was true that I needed more and more time, but as I trained to the later stages and continued to compare, contrast, and hypothesize, my breakthrough speed actually increased. The fast and slow aspects are akin to two roads which first start off in opposite directions, and so the further you walk along them, the more distant each road will become. However, when reaching a certain distance, the two will begin to draw close to each other. As you compare and contrast them, the two roads will draw nearer and nearer, and now, I've already reached the end stages of fusing them together. Linley shook his head. Only, I've become stuck in this training bottleneck. Delia began to understand it generally. As a god of the wind style, Delia also had trained in the fast and slow profound mysteries. However, Delia was not able to make them fuse, nor did she understand how the fast and slow profound mysteries, seemingly opposites, could be fused together. Come, let's go get some food. Linley wasn't going to try and force it. Upon reaching a bottleneck, he would first relax and then train later. Another divine sense. Linley suddenly frowned. Just now, A god-level divine sense swept over the metallic life form. Delia laughed. On the way over, we've encountered so many probes. Even gods dare to use their divine sense to probe us. Most likely, if they found that we are very weak, they would immediately come to attack and loot us. Forget them. Linley was irritated with these bandit groups as well. The people in this metallic life form had become accustomed to the divine sense probes of these bandit groups. They couldn't be bothered to pay attention to them. After all, they knew that if they were to leave the metallic life form to attack the bandits, they probably wouldn't be able to catch that many. Today, yet another high god divine sense swept across the metallic life form. But the fiends inside the metallic life form continued to drink, to train, to chat. Nobody cared. Everyone, disperse. A youth with curly silver hair led his 100 subordinates to rush down and flee, retreating into the depths of the mountain valleys below. Whoosh! The metallic creature didn't slow down in the slightest, disappearing into the horizons. But deep within a deep gorge. Drip, drip. Water flowed through the channels of a creek. After waiting so many years, I finally encountered you. The youth with curly silver hair stood atop the pool of water. Behind him, a muscular black-robed man was standing respectfully. Haiti. The silver-haired youth said coldly. Lord. The black-robed man bowed. The silver-haired youth said seriously, immediately notify young Master Inigo Yenige. Tell him that we have discovered the squad where those two old fellows are in. As long as the young master knows that the metallic life form passed by our place, he will easily be able to judge the general direction it will head in next. Yes, milord. The black-robed man nodded slightly. Hundreds of millions of kilometers away from the silver-haired youth, within Red Orchid City, there was a hotel that had been completely booked by a group of hundreds of people. In one of the courtyards within the hotel, there was a devilish youth with long, blood-red hair who was seated on a chair, flipping through a heavy tome. A nearby servant said respectfully, "Young master, Haiti is outside waiting to see you." Haiti. The blood-red-haired youth frowned. Who is Haiti? One of our messengers. The servant said respectfully. In the infernal realm, messages were usually carried by someone who had divine clones located in separate areas. For example, one might be in the Nightblaze Prefecture, while the other might be in the Rainbow Prefecture. Although there was a distance of billions of kilometers, since the two clones really were the same person, anything one clone knew, the other 1 billions of kilometers away would also know. This was a fairly normal form of communication in the infernal realm. We finally found those two old fellows. The youth immediately was overjoyed. Hurry up and have him come in. Yes. A man who looked identically to the muscular black-robed man called Haiti entered the courtyard, immediately falling respectfully to one knee. Young Master Inigo, Lord Paget Pagite has instructed me to inform you, young master, that the metallic life forms carrying those two old fellows just passed by his location. Oh! Inigo was instantly overjoyed. With a flip of his hand, an enormous detailed map appeared on the table. Passed by Paget? Then it seems the squad these two fellows are traveling in will pass through this place, the Nisawan Nisiwan mountain range. Since they've selected this route, then, Inigo stared at the map, a hint of a smile on his face. The web I set up has finally found those two old fellows. Inigo nodded slightly. I don't know how strong the fiends which those two old fellows have recruited are. Right. I first have to probe them. Immediately sent a message back and tell Viennese Wayona. Have him prepare his forces and immediately go to the area near the Bulabuletinlu River. Those two old fellows will definitely pass through his area. Inigo immediately instructed his servant. Yes, young master. The servant immediately acknowledged and left. Right now, the only one left in the courtyard was Inigo. Inigo narrowed his eyes slightly, murmuring, those two old fellows. They've taken all the wealth of their master's clan and run all the way to the Redbud continent. They definitely have major aims. And then, Inigo sneered coldly. But no matter what they are aiming for, once I get the astonishing wealth which those two old fellows are carrying, I will benefit tremendously. Inigo's face was all smiles. The ancient Boyd Boyi clan. How much wealth have they accumulated? Inigo's eyes were filled with intrigue. Inigo. Suddenly, an ancient voice rang out, and a silver-haired elder wearing a green robe entered the courtyard. "Oh, teacher," Inigo hurriedly said. The green-robed silver-haired elder shook his head. "Inigo, you've brought so many people with you and spent so much money. If you end up getting nothing, then—" "Teacher," Inigo said in a quiet voice, "don't worry. If I fail, then the wealth I built up over all these years will be gone, that's all. But if I succeed, teacher, the Boyd clan is finished, but those two old fellows took all of their wealth as they fled. The massive wealth accumulated by the Boyd clan over all those years." Inigo's heart trembled just thinking of it. But the green-robed elder still frowned. "Inigo, think about it. If you had such an astonishing amount of wealth, why wouldn't you hide? Instead, they invited all of those fiends to escort them. It seems as though they are actually intending to return to the Jade Float continent." Inigo frowned. "As for this, I'm rather curious as well. If I were in their shoes, I would have fled and disappeared long ago." Inigo laughed. "However, teacher, no matter what, right now, we have already discovered their traces. As long as we kill those two old folks and seize their interspatial ring, I hope you will be successful," the green-robed elder said. Book 15, Priceless Treasure, Chapter 4, Strength in Numbers. The metallic lifeform flew at a high, stable speed. Linley and Delia's room. Linley was staring outside the window at the vast world. There were many humans, and also many beastmen, magical beasts, and other races of creatures. Those are all saints. Linley was able to judge. In the infernal realm, the vast majority were still at the saint level. Countless saints were spread across every part of the infernal realm. Only, their lives had no guarantees at all. If I had entered the infernal realm when I was a saint, then, I would have been in trouble. Linley couldn't help but say to himself. That Hodan, when I was just a saint, he tried to lure me into entering the infernal realm. He definitely had bad intentions. "Linley, what are you thinking about?" Delia asked, puzzled. "Nothing." Linley laughed and shook his head. "Delia, we've been on this metallic creature for over 10 years now. Time has moved quite quickly." "Right. 10 years. Most likely, in another 10 years, we'll be at Blue Maple City. I hope that before you can reach Blue Maple City, you'll have reached the god level in the elemental laws of the wind." Delia laughed. "Let my divine wind clone also reach the god level." Linley himself was not certain in his ability to do so. Breaking through a bottleneck could happen very quickly, but if it happened slowly, nobody could be certain as to how long it would take. Just as Linley and Delia were chatting, Salomon and Nissa were in a room together as well. "Big bro, why did you want to speak to me?" Nissa laughed as she looked at her big brother. Salomon looked at Nissa. She was currently wearing a straw hat on her head which Bibi had given her. "Nissa, you truly wish to be together with that Bibi?" Salomon's voice was very low and very solemn as he spoke. Nissa's smile slowly disappeared, and she nodded seriously. "Big bro, actually, I didn't want to go to the Jade Float continent to begin with. Only, I didn't want to part from you. When I think about those years we spent at the Jade Float continent and those attacks we suffered, she couldn't help but clench her fists." Salomon sighed to himself, then said, "I understand. Now, I want to ask about you and Bibi. What are you planning?" "Big bro, BB is a really good person. Although he occasionally likes to joke and play around, he is very sincere to others, and treats me very well. When I am with BB, I feel that I am very happy and carefree, without any worries at all. Nissa had a smile on her face now. Sometimes, when I'm not happy, BB will come coax me. Big bro, don't just look at the way BB fools around. BB is actually exceedingly smart. Whenever I am even slightly unhappy, he'll immediately know. I like the feeling of being together with BB. Nissa looked at her big brother. Big bro, I'm sorry. Salomon said in a low voice, are you, no longer planning to go with me to the Jade Float continent? I'm not going anymore. Nissa shook her head. Salomon maintained his silence. He had been together with his little sister, Nissa, for many years. Naturally, he couldn't bear to part from her. Big bro, I'm sorry. Nissa said quietly. Salomon shook his head and laughed. The trip back to the Jade Float continent was going to be dangerous no matter what. This is for the better. You can be with BB for now. Once I return to the Jade Float continent and arrange everything, you and BB, when you have free time, can come to the Jade Float continent to look for me. Nissa couldn't help but feel excited. Big bro. Nissa excitedly hugged her older brother. Heh heh. Salomon began to laugh. It's fine, it's fine. But Nissa, when you and BB are together, you need to be careful. I won't be by your side then. Got it, big bro? Nissa hurriedly said. Don't worry. By then, we will find an ordinary escort mission. It won't be very dangerous. Look, we've been on this metallic life form for a dozen years now, but we haven't encountered any dangers. Bang. Suddenly, the metallic creature shuddered, and both Nissa and Salomon's bodies swayed. Whoosh. The entire metallic creature shrank into a single human form, while all of the people within the creature were now hovering in mid-air. 100+ people were all rather astonished. Many fiends had been in the middle of their training, but right now, they were all startled awake. At this moment, ahead of the 100+ people, there was a large number of deities hovering in mid-air. The number was so high that the 1-star fiends and 2-star fiends like Linley were all so frightened, their faces changed. Boss. How many people are there here? BB stared with round eyes. It seems like there's roughly 10,000. Linley's heart clenched. Nearly 10,000 experts, and it seems all of them are at least gods, while a few are high gods. Such a large group, if they were to charge and attack all together, then the results. Linley's heart grew nervous. BB, afterwards, we'll come to this side. Delia, later, you use the Death God Golem. Linley hurriedly instructed. At this time, focus our efforts on preserving our lives. Let the 6-star fiend defeat the foes. Ninny, come over here. BB immediately called out. BB. Nissa actually had a smile on her face. Clearly, she was rather excited at the thought of being together with BB. Salomon flew over as well, joining Linley's group. Salomon was somewhat worried as well. He said in a low voice, this will be trouble. So many people. Even a high god will find it dangerous to deal with the combined attacks of hundreds of gods, much less the nearly 10,000 we have here. Everyone. A sonorous voice rang out in the air. The reason you have stopped us is for the sake of money. Today, we don't want to fight with you to the death either. There's no benefit for either side in doing so. Name a price. As long as it is within our range of acceptableness, I will immediately offer it to you. Is this acceptable? The speaker of these words was the silver-haired elder with the 3 black horns. At this moment, the silver-haired elder was cursing silently to himself. This damn place, since when did it have a bandit group with 10,000 people? It even has 20 high gods. I've never even heard of this group. Ha ha. The leader of the bandit brigade, a red-robed man, laughed loudly. It seems you are rather straightforward. Then I won't make things difficult for you either. We have a total of 10,000 brothers here. How about this? We won't ask for too much. Just give us 10 billion inkstones. What do you say? 10 billion inkstones. This figure shocked the silver-haired elder upon hearing it. 10 billion inkstones. The silver-haired elder stared somewhat disbelievingly at the red-robed man. 10 billion. Bibi muttered. This asking price is really steep. Linley, upon hearing this figure, thought back to how he himself had 100 million inkstones. They immediately asked for 10 billion inkstones. It seems the amount of wealth I have is nothing. My friend, 10 billion inkstones is a bit too high, isn't it? The silver-haired elder's tone of voice became slightly harder. 10 billion inkstones, I cannot accept this price. How about we lower it a bit? The silver-haired elder stared at the red-robed man. The red-robed man had long, fiery red hair. Unacceptable to accept it? The red-robed man glanced around himself, laughing loudly. Brothers, did you hear that? Ha ha, many experts began to laugh. The red-haired man suddenly shouted ferociously, kill them. Kill. 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 The bandits simultaneously called out, while at the same time. Whoosh. 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 10,000 experts almost simultaneously launched their attacks, either using formless soul attacks or all sorts of material attacks. The entire sky was densely filled with countless swords images, saber images, elemental beasts, and more. Covering the entire sky, these attacks charged towards Linley's group. The faces of all the fiends couldn't help but change. Even someone as powerful as the six-star fiend, Learmonth, couldn't take the combined attacks of 10,000 gods head-on at the same time. He was only able to protect himself and a few people around him. Retreat. Linley growled, while at the same time he, Delia, Bibi, Nissa, and Solomon shot downwards at high speed. Although they retreated at high speed, the speed of the attacks was astonishingly fast. In almost an instant, the material attacks and soul attacks arrived. Linley's group relied on their dodging abilities to avoid, but the attacks were too numerous, too dense, and too fast. Swoosh! The Death God Golem emerged, blocking in front of Linley's group. Two sword energy attacks smashed viciously on the Death God Golem's body, and the superficial layer of skin and flesh on the Death God Golem split open, revealing the metallic body underneath it, which wasn't damaged at all. However, multiple soul attacks completely bypassed the Death God Golem, easily going straight through its body. Delia. Linley directly interposed his own body in front of Delia's, and a soul attack struck into Linley's body. Ninny. Bibi did the same for Nissa. Nissa, for a moment, was completely stunned. The first wave of attacks passed. Linley, are you all right? Delia was somewhat worried. Linley turned and laughed towards her. Delia, don't you know how powerful I am yet? Linley was specialized in soul defense. How could a soul attack launched from so far away harm him? Bibi. Nissa was frantic with worry, and her eyes even began to tear up. Bibi, are you all right? Nissa was at the point of tears. Although she and Bibi had known each other for a long time, they had never faced any threats, and so she didn't know how powerful Bibi was. All she knew was that Bibi was just a god. Bibi just grabbed her by the waist. Let's run. Stop blabbering. He charged downwards, while a look of delight instantly appeared on Nissa's face. That kid. Solomon nodded slightly in approval. It seems I can entrust him with my sister. All of the fiends had scattered. Ha ha, not one of you will escape. Kill, kill. The red-robed man bellowed. Several high gods took command over several units, running in each direction as they began their pursuit and slaughter of the fiends. As for the 10 or so other high gods, they led nearly 5,000 other gods, heading towards that silver-haired elder who was the employer for this mission. Actually, the employer wasn't just that silver-haired, black-horned elder. There was another white-horned, silver-haired elder. The two silver-haired elders glanced at each other. "Mr. Learmonth, the Edwards brothers, will be relying on you," the black-horned silver-haired elder said. "Don't worry," Learmonth said calmly, while the three Edwards brothers were supremely confident as well. Linley, Delia, Bibi, Nissa, and Salomon formed into a 5-person party. They were currently being pursued by hundreds of gods. "They want to chase us." Linley, holding Delia by the hand, suddenly accelerated dramatically. It must be understood that at present, Linley had already reached a bottleneck in the fast and slow profound mysteries. He was very close to the level of mastery. His speed was far faster than that of these ordinary gods. Bibi's speed was astonishing as well. He was also holding Nissa by the hand. As for Solomon, as a high god, he naturally caught up easily. Soon, they threw off the hundreds of gods chasing after them. Being outnumbered really is a pain. Solomon laughed sourly. Hundreds of gods, if he were to fight them, he might indeed be capable of killing all of those gods, but it was also possible that he himself would be the one to be killed. After all, there were simply too many gods. For example, if 10 soul attacks hit him at the same time, although he was powerful, he would still die. Bibi. Nissa's little face was red as she looked at Bibi. "Thanks." Bibi immediately began to laugh. "Ninny, why thank me? With the relationship we have, is thanks necessary?" Nissa, seeing the look of teasing laughter on Bibi's face, couldn't help but intentionally let out a snort. Watching this nearby, Linley, Delia, and Salomon all revealed hints of a smile on their faces. Another group of gods. "Let's hurry up and leave," Linley immediately shouted through his divine sense. There were simply too many gods here. They had just avoided one squad of hundreds of gods, but now another one had noticed them. Linley's group immediately began to flee again. In terms of speed, they were still at a huge advantage. Suddenly, rumble, the entire world began to shake, and invisible spatial ripples spread out, causing the trees and stones that were hit by the ripples to directly turn into powder. Linley's group stared in mid-air in astonishment. Not just Linley, all of the luckily surviving fiends on the battlefield as well as the 10,000 bandits all raised their heads. Learmonth was there in mid-air, sweeping his sword across. 10+ high god corpses fell down from the sky at same time. Whoosh! Whoosh! Of those 10+ high god corpses, 8 divine clones suddenly emerged from within them and began to flee in every which way. Book 15, Priceless Treasure, Chapter 5, Sword Intent. Instantly, the entire battlefield fell silent. Over 10 high gods had actually been killed in a single blow. This was simply inconceivable. How is this possible? Linley stared with wide eyes. Even if it was a soul attack, he would at most be able to hit one person. How could 10 high gods simultaneously fall from the skies? What happened just now? Linley now regretted it. Regretted not having seen that sword attack. Flee! Flee! The divine clones that had emerged from 8 of those high god corpses began fleeing in terror in every which way. After having witnessed the power of that sword, none of them had any courage to fight again. Too powerful. Too frightening. These high gods now truly had the fear of death in them. Fleeing. Learmonth watched calmly as those 8 divine clones fled, a hint of a cold smile at the corner of his lips. Suddenly, he drew his sword. In that instant, 8 rays of black sword shadows sliced through the air simultaneously, attacking in 8 different directions towards those 8 fleeing divine clones. Those 8 divine clones continued to move forward, but their bodies were bisected, then fell down from the skies. Blood splashed everywhere in the air. That sword. Linley's pupils shrank, and in his mind, he frantically began to think about that sword. That terrifying, nearly invincible sword. In Linley's mind, the image of that sword flashed through as fast as lightning. That sort of extremely fast sword which had the intent of an exploding volcano. In the instant the sword had been drawn, the power of the technique had been completely, explosively released. It was utterly unblockable. Wherever the sword's shadow passed, destruction came with it. Is this the way of destruction? Linley hurriedly shook his head. It doesn't seem like it. It seemed like. In his mind, Linley was frantically trying to deconstruct that attack on a deeper level. The more he analyzed it, with each minor insight Linley gained, the more questions he had as well. By now, the leader of this bandit group, that muscular, red-robed man, had fled long ago. Just now, he had been calling out for combat and killing, but he only had his subordinates attack. He himself stayed in the back, not charging forward to attack at all. When he saw that destructive sword, he had immediately chosen to flee. What a terrifying fellow! That sword was capable of simultaneously killing 10+ high gods. The red-robed man's heart was filled with terror. If I had been slightly slower, most likely I would have been killed by that frightening fiend as well. How could these two old fellows have invited such a powerful fiend? The red-robed man's eyes narrowed slightly. This fiend is so formidable. It seems that this time, we'll need to invite the young master's teacher, Mr. Wind, to personally get involved. Humph! The red-robed man glanced backwards. These idiots. Did they think the money of me, Viennese, was so easily earned? They were able to make money, but they weren't able to spend it. Unfortunately, the 12 high gods that the young master gave me as subordinates all died as well. The red-robed man was Viennese, one of Inigo's subordinates. As for the bandit army, Viennese had spent money to invite several major bandit organizations to form a single group. After all, Viennese had led 12 high gods, while the other bandit organizations all combined only had 7 or 8 high gods. In particular, Viennese had given them an enormous sum of money. These bandit groups naturally had joined up. In recent days, they had joined forces to waylay quite a few groups. I need to hurry back to let the kid immediately inform the young master. Viennese immediately flew back towards his own residence. With 2 divine clones being in 2 locations, communications naturally were quite fast. Inigo was thus easily kept abreast of the situation regarding Linley's metallic life form. After the leaders of the bandit group were slaughtered, and especially after Learmont's sword attack, all of the bandits lost their willpower and they began to flee in every direction. Instantly, not a single bandit group was now left. They really ran quite quickly. BB snorted. This Learmont, even Salomon was shocked by Learmont, standing in mid-air. Learmont's face was cold and calm, as though nothing had happened. Indeed, to Learmont, this sort of small battle was nothing at all. Linley. Delia called out softly. But currently, Linley was completely lost in his own world as he pondered on that astonishing sword attack. How could he notice Delia's call? Hey, what's going on with the boss? BB noticed that Linley seemed strange as well. The nearby Nissa laughed. BB, could it be that your boss was scared silly by that sword of Learmont's? Nissa teased intentionally. BB gave her a stare. What do you know? My boss probably had some insight. At this moment, Linley returned to wakefulness. Linley, are you all right? Delia felt that the look on Linley's face was rather odd. I'm fine. Linley shook his head and laughed. Just now, I was thinking about a few things. I actually thought that I was about to make a breakthrough, but I was wrong. Linley glanced at the distant Learmont, his eyes filled with astonishment and puzzlement. That sword. Linley was also a sword wielder, and his soul was shaped as a sword. With regards to the concept of a sword's intent, he had his own thoughts as well. I've only just mastered the basics of the essence of fire, and haven't even become a deity. Most likely, I guessed wrongly. Linley was still lingering over those lightning-fast 8-sword attacks. At his current level of power, Linley was not capable of seeing through the profound truths of that sword. The nearby Salomon laughed and said, "Linley, are you shocked by Learmont's sword?" Indeed, the sword attack by Learmont just now was definitely at an extremely high level of the way of destruction. Way of destruction? Linley raised an eyebrow. What, weren't you able to sense the aura of the way of destruction? Salomon asked. I sensed it, Linley said, but didn't follow up. If Linley sensed it, why is he surprised? Salomon was somewhat puzzled, but he didn't speak it aloud. Immediately, the lucky, surviving fiends all headed towards Learmont and the black-horned silver-haired elder. Soon, more than 50 fiends gathered around them. The black-horned, silver-haired elder and the white-horned, silver-haired elder looked at each other, a hint of worry in their eyes. They had already begun to guess the reason why so many bandits had come to waylay them. It must be understood that generally speaking, when a bandit group discovered so many fiends, they wouldn't attack. The black-haired elder said loudly, "Everyone, I didn't expect that we would encounter so many bandit attacks on this trip. I truly am sorry. In such a short time, more than 60 fiends have died. Thankfully, Mr. Learmont as well as Edwards and his brothers were here. When we reach Blue Maple City, we will add additional money to your compensation." The black-horned elder said, and then a golden light flashed as the metallic life-form once more formed in mid-air. However, the metallic life-form was now clearly smaller in size. The fiends once more filled it, entering the metallic life-form. Soon, the metallic life-form headed out once more. Fiends lived a life on the bloody edge of a blade to begin with. These fiends who had lived for countless years only wanted their lives to be more exciting and to reach the peak of power in the infernal realm. To them, life and death. Right, death was something they didn't wish to face, and when they encountered any dangers they weren't able to resist, the fiends would flee. But when death truly came, they wouldn't be in terror. After all, ever since they became fiends, every single one of them had become mentally prepared for that possibility. The black-horned elder has a bit of a conscience. He knows he should increase our compensation. BB snorted. I keep on having the feeling that this escort mission isn't simple. Linley nodded as well. Right. Only, when we took on the mission, the only thing we noticed was that more than 100 one-star fiends and 2-star fiends had been recruited. Who would have imagined that there were 4-star fiends, 5-star fiends, and even a 6-star fiend taking part as well? Linley understood that this sort of group mission was divided into different parts. It was much like the battle at Moon Lake Castle. Linley's group was responsible for dealing with gold-robed guards, while the powerful High God fiends were responsible for dealing with black-robed guards as well as the castle's master. This mission, with a 6-star fiend involved, wasn't a simple one either. Everyone is already on board. What is there to think about? Salomon shook his head. If just now, when facing the attack of the bandits, taking the chance to flee would have been one thing. But right now, we are already aboard the metallic creature. If we want to leave and retreat now, once this gets out, we'll lose face. Spineless, fearful cowards. They would definitely become a laughingstock. Everyone, calmly train. Linley said seriously. No matter what, even if we encounter enemies, the primary target isn't us. It is the black-horned elder and the white-horned elder. We just need to work hard to protect ourselves. Linley didn't have any intention of protecting their employers. After all, those two elders were both high gods, while Linley himself was just a god. Right. Everyone nodded, and then scattered towards their own rooms to begin training. In this room, only Linley and Delia were left. I wonder why those two old fellows chose us, these gods, to participate in the mission. Linley was still filled with confusion. Forget it. Protecting Delia and Bibi is enough. Linley looked at Delia, and then closed his eyes and began to train. I hope that in a short period of time, I'll be able to quickly break through this bottleneck in the profound truths of velocity. That way, I'll be able to protect us better. Linley chanted to himself quietly. Red Orchid City. Within a courtyard in a hotel. Inigo received the news that had been delivered from his subordinate, Vianas. He couldn't help but frown. I didn't expect that those two old fellows actually invited such a powerful fiend. To have trained to such a level in the way of destruction means that he is most likely a 5-star fiend or a 6-star fiend. Inigo didn't dare imagine that it would be a 7-star fiend. This was because 7-star fiends were ultimate experts with their own titles. They didn't lack for money, and they were at the top of the rankings as fiends. They generally wouldn't take on missions. Inigo. The green-robed elder suddenly appeared in the courtyard again. Inigo, seeing this person, immediately stood up and said respectfully, "Teacher, the results of Vianney's mission is already known." Inigo immediately told the results of that battle in detail to his teacher. The green-robed elder frowned. "Oh? Trains in the way of destruction, and killed 10 high gods with one sword? Power like this is indeed hard to oppose." The green-robed elder, although somewhat worried about the power of this opponent, didn't feel that things were hopeless. "Teacher, do you feel confident?" Inigo said softly. The green-robed elder said in a low voice, "Since he's accepted a mission, then this fiend shouldn't be a 7-star fiend. Since he is a 6-star fiend, I should be able to defeat him. However, based on the power of that sword attack you described, the attack of that fiend is simply too powerful. I still can't take it on head-on." "No need to take him head-on, teacher. You only need to kill those two old fellows," Inigo said hurriedly. The green-robed elder nodded slightly. "If that's the case, then I am confident. I just need to separate the fiends from them for a time. Then I'll entrust everything to you, teacher." The green-robed elder laughed calmly. Linley, in his room, continued to train for nearly a year. Huh. Linley opened his eyes. "Why do I feel uneasy all of a sudden?" For some reason, Linley suddenly felt some restlessness in his heart. Linley immediately took a deep breath, letting himself calm down. Delia opened her eyes as well. "Linley, what is it?" Through the window, Linley looked at the outside. "Nothing. Only, while I was training, I felt my mind grow uneasy for some reason. Right now, the area below the metallic lifeform was a boundless desert. The wild wind howled and desert sand filled the skies. The metallic lifeform continued to fly at high speed." "You felt it also?" Delia said in surprise. "I felt some unease as well." At this moment, the metallic lifeform was completely covered by yellow sands. Originally, the metallic lifeform's fiends didn't care about the sand, but, for that instant the metallic lifeform was covered by sand, the entire metallic lifeform suddenly, in the blink of an eye, boom, blew apart. Book 15, Priceless Treasure, Chapter 6, The Ancient Castle of Sand. The metallic lifeform had completely exploded, and the fiends that had been inside instantly became surrounded by the boundless sands. Each grain of yellow sand seemed to weigh 1,000,000 kilograms, and Linley was completely surrounded by sand, completely unable to move. "Delia." Linley couldn't help but try to grab Delia's hand. "Linley." Delia also wanted to grab Linley's hand. Whoosh. Boundless amounts of yellow sand swirled over. Linley was completely unable to control himself. "What is this?" Linley wanted to break free of the constricting binds of the yellow sand, but Linley was completely unable to resist that strange, unusual binding energy. In an instant, boom. Linley was thrown to the ground. Linley immediately stood up, staring around him. What is this? Linley's heart was filled with questions and puzzlement. This was a massive, ancient-looking structure formed completely from yellow sand. Linley, when raising his head, was only able to see the enormous roof formed from yellow sand, and was unable to see the sky at all. This was an enormous edifice made completely from yellow sand, which Linley was now trapped within. What astonished Linley the most was nobody. There's nobody around me. Where is everyone? Linley stared around himself. But within this edifice of sand, not a single person could be seen. Linley spread out his divine sense, but was shocked to find, how is this possible? My divine sense, even in the infernal realm, can cover an area of 100 meters. But why is it that in this damn place, it only spread to 10 meters? Linley was shocked. My divine sense is being affected. Linley began to understand. Can it be that the sand construct is a space of its own? Although Linley had discovered that nobody was here, he was still able to sense one person, BB. BB and Linley's souls were linked. No matter how far away they were, they would still be able to sense the other's existence. Boss, how are you doing? I'm in a sand-formed building. I can't see anyone. Everyone seems to have disappeared. BB's voice rang out in Linley's mind. Their two souls were connected. They didn't have to speak using divine sense, they could speak through their souls. Linley, hearing BB's words, began to understand. BB, my situation is the same as yours. This is an ancient structure completely made out of sand. I can't see a single person within. BB, be careful, I have the feeling that we are in a special dimension. Right, got it? BB replied. Boss, I'm going to start heading in your direction. All right. Linley could sense BB as well. The two would always be able to sense the general direction of the other. Naturally, they could draw closer to each other, even if they weren't able to see each other. This sand structure. With a flip of his hand, Linley withdrew blood violet. Swoosh. Linley flew into the air, the blood violet in his hand suddenly moving at a high speed. A ray of violet light flashed, and the roof of the sand structure rumbled, and a small pile of yellow sand was smashed and fell down. However, the yellow sand roof only trembled, then quickly returned to its normal calm. Linley's face changed. His profound truths of velocity had already reached a bottleneck. This most powerful physical attack in his possession, the Dimensional Decapitator, was now many times more powerful than it had been when he was in the Yulan continent. But it hadn't been able to budge this castle of sand at all. What a bizarre power! Linley frowned. A strange energy has completely infused this yellow sand. This strange place, Linley didn't waste any more time, immediately drawing closer to BB. Boss, this damn place is too weird. I have no way of getting over. There are no paths in front of me, and the walls are too weird. I can't break them apart at all. Whenever I break them apart slightly, the yellow sand will move back. BB said frantically. Linley couldn't help but feel surprised. BB, wait. Linley continued to move in BB's direction as well. The enormous sand structure had many openings and many corridors. It was like an enormous maze. Linley, after walking a while, discovered that there was a dead end in front of him, a wall formed from yellow sand. Linley could clearly sense that BB was right there, but he was unable to cross over. BB, my path has also been blocked by a wall. Linley frowned, turning to stare at his surroundings. So many roads and passages. Linley couldn't help but think back to the Yulan continent, and a type of entertainment he had seen there, mazes. In mazes, there were many corridors and avenues. However, there was only a single true pathway. If one took a single wrong step, one wouldn't be able to exit the maze. Could it be that this structure made out of sand is a maze? Linley guessed to himself. No other choices. For now, let's just treat it as a maze. Linley immediately began to walk along other roads. While walking, he thought back to the previous pathways he had taken. Given Linley's visualization abilities, if he knew the rough locations of the corridors, he would be able to eventually extrapolate the correct pathway. BB, this strange place is most likely a maze. Linley said to BB mentally. Maze. BB was greatly shocked. Right. Think of a way to draw closer to me from a roundabout way. Linley continued to memorize every single corridor. If he went down a wrong pathway, he would immediately turn back. So it's a maze, fine, I'll definitely find the right path. BB was very frantic as well. Both him and Linley had people they were worried about. Linley was worried about Delia, while BB was worried about Nissa. 20 or so people were together, with the leader being Inigo and his teacher. Teacher, for you to reach such a level in the elemental laws of the wind, most likely, there's only a few people in the entire infernal realm who can do this. Inigo's face was all smiles, and he spoke respectfully. The green-robed elder laughed calmly. Stop flattering me. This is the one and only ultimate technique that I have. In terms of pure power, that fiend is perhaps still somewhat more powerful than me. Whoa, he really is powerful. He broke open the walls of my castle of the winds in a single sword blow. So what if he broke them open? You can change the walls as you please, teacher. Inigo knew well how powerful this technique of his master's was. 7 powerful elemental laws, and 4 edicts. Of them, the elemental laws of the wind had the most connection to space. In particular, when several of the profound mysteries were fused, the mastery over space would become even greater. They think this is a maze. The green-robed elder knew exactly what was happening within this castle of the wind. He discovered that many fiends were beginning to search for an exit in accordance with the rules for dealing with a maze. Right, it is a maze, but it is a maze that I can change whenever I want to. The green-robed elder laughed calmly. Inigo, lead your men and begin the attack. I will work with you. Yes, teacher. Inigo immediately led his men out. Inigo and 20+ high gods easily entered. Even if they encountered walls, when they drew near, the walls would naturally separate, revealing a corridor. For Linley, it was the opposite, and so, Inigo's group had no impediments within the castle at all. In addition, they even had the guidance and cooperation of the green-robed elder. Linley was walking at high speed, while the map of the maze in his mind was growing more and more clear. Linley couldn't help but reveal a hint of a smile on his lips. It seems I'm almost about to make it out of this maze. Linley felt very confident. But suddenly, Linley's fast footsteps came to a halt. How is that possible? Linley stared at the wall in front of him, his face instantly changing dramatically. No, there shouldn't be a wall here. I just walked past here a while ago. This place should have a corridor, and there was a pillar here. Linley immediately turned to look. There was indeed a pillar. The pillar is still here, but the corridor? Can I have remembered wrongly? Impossible. Linley shut his eyes, that clear map appearing within his mind. These were all places he had walked past. Impossible. I couldn't have taken a wrong route. Linley immediately headed back towards another direction. There should be a corridor with an opening up this way. I just passed it? Linley murmured. But as Linley reached the place where there should have been an opening, Linley was stunned. In front of him, there was indeed a large corridor, but there were no openings. What is going on? I can't have remembered wrongly. Linley couldn't help but rub his head, constantly pondering the routes he had just taken. I can't have remembered wrongly, but these places are all. Linley's face suddenly turned pale. This ancient maze. Can it be that it is changing? Linley had a sudden feeling of hopelessness. A maze would have a chance for one to leave it, but if the maze was constantly changing, what was one to do? Boss, I'm at the place you just were. BB's voice rang out in Linley's mind. I don't know what's going on. Just as I reached a dead end, the wall suddenly disappeared and a corridor appeared. Boss, hurry over. I don't know where I should go right now. Linley, staring at the now disappeared gap, laughed bitterly. BB, I won't be able to get back to my original location. Delia. Linley's heart was filled with worry, but he had no options. As Linley and the other fiends were all frantically searching for an escape route, Inigo's forces stealthily took their lives one at a time. This damn place, how am I supposed to leave? Swade Sawate was a 4-star fiend who had taken on this mission, an expert who was at the high god level. When he had seen the 6-star fiend, Learmonth, as well as the 3 Edwards brothers, he had been overjoyed. He had believed that he wouldn't be in any danger. However, right now, there was nobody nearby he could rely on. He could only rely on himself. It isn't a maze. It should be something created by an extremely powerful expert of the elemental laws of the wind. Swade's heart was shivering. To be able to reach such a level in the elemental laws of the wind, he must have fused at least half of the 9 profound mysteries of the elemental laws of the wind. Swade knew that an expert on that level was definitely not someone he could overcome. Suddenly, the yellow, sandy wall next to Swade suddenly cracked open, and 2 figures scurried in, charging towards him. A wave of heat surged towards him, as well as an icy aura that attacked his body. Not good. Swade's face changed dramatically. At the same time, a human figure in the yellow sand next to Swade suddenly emerged, and a narrow sword pierced straight towards Swade. 3 high gods had joined forces to kill Swade. In addition, this was a sneak attack. Swade was only just barely able to recover in time to block the 2 enemies in front of him, but the 3rd person easily stabbed him with the sword. In the blink of an eye. Prepare to attack the next one. Oh! Be careful. There's 2 up ahead. One is a high god, while the other is a god. The 2 of them actually ran into each other. You 3, head towards the tunnel up ahead, the green-robed elder's voice rang out in the ears of the 3. Although this castle of the winds was very strange, it had taken in quite a few fiends, so it was normal for 1 or 2 of them to occasionally meet up. These 3 high gods glanced at each other. They laughed. With the help of this castle of the winds, killing was utterly effortless. In particular, they had the advantage of numbers and of stealth. The green-robed elder walked forward. The wealth of the Boyd clan? It seems it is about to fall into my hands. The green-robed elder knew exactly where those 2 employers were located. With but a single step, the green-robed elder entered the sand. The black-horned elder was currently hovering in mid-air cautiously. There's actually an expert of such a level. The black-horned knew exactly what this castle was. Naturally, he didn't dare to draw near to the ground or to the walls. Otherwise, once the enemy ambushed him suddenly from the ground, he wouldn't even have the time to react. It seems this time we are in trouble. HRM. The black-robed elder suddenly turned his head to stare towards a distant corridor. He saw Linley, dressed in that earthen yellow robe, carefully moving forward. It is him. He seems to be called Linley. The black-robed elder was somewhat surprised. Book 15, Priceless Treasure, Chapter 7, To Choose. Linley walked in the middle of this changing castle, exceedingly worried. This damn place is constantly changing. There's no way I can find the exit. In addition, there are enemies attacking and ambushing from within. Linley clearly remembered seeing the corpse of a fiend earlier. Upon seeing the corpse, Linley immediately understood that this ancient castle wasn't just meant for trapping people. There were people lying in ambush here. Actually, Linley should have understood this long ago. Only, he didn't dare to think about it. Ambush. Assassinate. BB and I are a bit better off. I have a soul-protecting sovereign artifact, while BB has treasures bestowed upon him by Lord Beirut. He shouldn't have any problem staying alive. But Delia, alas. I shouldn't have been in such a rush. I should have let Delia reach the high god level first before heading out. Linley was filled with regret. If Delia were to be killed. Thinking of this, Linley grew even more worried. In truth, Delia trained in the elemental laws of the wind, and had already mastered 6 of the profound mysteries, and had a death god golem with her. Although her abilities at staying alive were inferior to that of Linley and BB's, she still had some degree of ability. Only, Linley himself remained worried. The enemy is definitely extraordinary, to be able to create this bizarre castle. Everything else aside, Delia hasn't reached the high god level yet. Linley carefully yet speedily moved through the castle, hoping that he would run into Delia within. But suddenly, Linley reached an opening, then out of the corner of his eye, saw someone hovering in mid-air. The black-horned elder. Linley immediately recognized him. That black-haired elder clearly had seen Linley as well, as he looked over towards him. But right at this moment, the gentle wind suddenly took solid form, transforming into a green-robed elder. The green-robed elder had a hint of a smile on his face. He glanced sideways at Linley, not worried at all. A god actually ran here as well. To the green-robed elder, a god was someone he could kill in an instant. Given his status and stature, he couldn't be bothered to care about Linley at all. You are. The black-horned elder saw the green-robed elder appear out of thin area, and his face changed dramatically. The green-robed elder glanced calmly at the black-horned elder before him. You truly are bold. For you and your brother to abscond with the enormous fortune of the Boyd clan is one thing, but, I didn't expect that after so many years, you two would dare to turn back. What, you wish to return to the Jade Float continent? The black-horned elder's face changed, and then he chuckled in a relieved manner. That year, my big brother and I fled from the Jade Float continent. We thought that no one had detected us. This time, we only invited so many fiends out of an abundance of caution, but I wouldn't have expected that you would come. The green-robed elder let out a disdainful snort. You want to acquire the fortune of the Boyd clan? Ha ha. The black-horned elder suddenly raised his head and laughed loudly, then stared at the green-robed elder. Keep dreaming. For us two brothers to dare come on this trip means that we naturally came fully prepared. Even if you kill both of us, you won't be able to obtain the treasures of the Boyd clan. You will never get it. The green-robed elder's face suddenly sank. He had followed his student, Inigo, from the Jade Float continent through the Starmist seas to the Redbud continent. It was all for the sake of the fortune of the Boyd clan. Humph. Once I kill you, I'll know. The green-robed elder, with a wave of his hand, summoned forth a long sword that looked like a silver thread. This was a flexible sword, but compared to Linley's blood-violet sword, it was even thinner and even lighter. Prepare to die. The green-robed elder, confident of his status, would usually notify his opponent before killing them. As soon as the black-horned elder had seen the Castle of the Winds, he had understood how powerful the opponent was. Although he himself was also a high god, compared to the person in front of him, the difference was considerable. You want to kill me? I will make you pay a price. The black-horned elder had already made up his mind to die here. Bellowing, he made a black heavy sword appear in his hands. Instantly, the air around the black heavy sword began to twist, and a black light shot out in every direction. Linley, seeing these two high gods about to battle, couldn't help but feel startled. I'd better run. If I get involved in this, I'll be finished. Linley didn't hesitate at all, immediately running towards the direction of one of the other corridors. although he was moving quickly. Bang! The first clash by these two high gods caused the black-horned elder's body to be sent flying towards Linley's direction at high speed. Huh! Linley couldn't help but feel stunned. Raising his head, he watched as the body flew towards him. But with a flip, the black-horned elder righted himself, standing up. Just now, one of the divine clones of the black-horned elder was killed. You want to kill me? The black-horned elder was now fully aware of how great their difference in power was. One of his clones had just been destroyed, and he now only had this one left. Clan Master, your old servant didn't let you down. Only, in the future, your old servant won't be able to toil on behalf of the young master any longer. Bang! The black-horned elder's long blade, carrying an earth-splitting force, transformed into a black blade shadow, causing space to distort and leaving behind nothing more than a faint blur. Haha, you just had one of your divine clones die. I want to see how many you have left. The green-robed elder laughed wildly, and then Linley only noticed a hint of a beautiful silver flash. Wherever those rays of silver light flashed past, space itself began to form extremely tiny cracks. Linley was shocked. Cracks? Cracks in space in the infernal realm. Linley found it hard to believe. Boom! The black-horned elder was only able to block a single silver ray of light. Afterwards, his entire body was crisscrossed by the multiple remaining rays of silver light. His body was chopped into multiple parts which fell down from the skies. In particular, the interspatial ring on his left hand was sent flying downwards. At this moment, interspatial ring. Linley had a thought. He absolutely could collect this interspatial ring for himself. Can I take it? The black-horned elder's interspatial ring definitely had an enormous fortune within it. Linley was certain of this. As one of their employers, a person capable of inviting a six-star fiend, the amount of wealth this black-horned elder had was definitely staggering. Only, was he able to collect it? Linley looked at the distant green-robed elder, then without hesitating at all, immediately fled. I wouldn't be alive to spend it. Linley fled at high speed, quickly traversing thousands of meters, disappearing from the green-robed elder's field of vision. Only, every location within this castle was under the control of this green-robed elder. Naturally, he knew exactly where Linley had gone. The green-robed elder chuckled. This god didn't let greed cloud his judgment. If Linley had stolen that interspatial ring, even if the green-robed elder originally would have had disdained killing Linley, a god, the green-robed elder would have personally intervened to retrieve the ring. At that point, Linley would have had no chance at all. What does he have inside? The green-robed elder landed, then collected his interspatial ring while binding it with blood. The green-robed elder's face changed greatly. HRM? Only 30 billion inkstones. How is that possible? As little as that? The green-robed elder couldn't believe it. Impossible. The fortune of the Boyd clan was built up over countless years. Even the tiniest part of it would exceed this amount. Perhaps to Linley or to ordinary high gods, 30 billion inkstones was an enormous fortune. But to the green-robed elder and other such experts, it was nothing more than a small sum of money. If you were to compare these 30 billion inkstones to the entire fortune of the Boyd clan, that would be like a single hair on the bodies of 9 bulls. It must be understood, that within a city, a single hotel was worth tens of billions of inkstones. How could the fortune of the Boyd clan be compared to a single hotel? No. There's also that white-horned elder. The green-robed elder's eyes were cold. The wealth is definitely on him. But when he sensed the location of that white-horned elder, his face changed dramatically. Not good, that fiend is about to draw close to the white-horned elder. Learmont's face was cold and callous. Wielding his long sword, he walked calmly through the castle as though he was just taking a stroll in his own garden. When he encountered any yellow sand walls, he would still walk straight through them, completely ignoring the walls in front of him. His sword would flash. Crunch. The yellow sand walls were all directly destroyed. Learmonth himself moved like an illusion, passing through the empty hole, while the yellow sand wall immediately recovered afterwards. Learmonth turned to look coldly towards the side. Swish. Like a bolt lightning, his sword chopped out towards the distant yellow sand wall. Instantly, fresh blood exploded out from the yellow sand wall, and a corpse fell down from within the wall. The eyes of the corpse were filled with shock, as though he couldn't believe that Learmonth had noticed him. Learmonth continued forward. Nobody could block his advance. "I know you can hear me," Learmonth said while walking. "You might as well come out. Do you believe that I am unable to break through your spatial castle?" Crunch. Yet another sword chop flashed out against the impediment in front of him, and Learmonth's body swayed yet again, appearing on the opposite side of that way. "Ah, Mr. Learmonth." The white-horned elder stared in astonishment and joy at Learmonth, whose face revealed a rare hint of a smile. "I was a step behind." The green-robed elder was hidden only a few hundred meters away from the white-horned elder, in a room. This one named Learmonth. His attack power is truly frightening. With but a casual attack, he is able to generate such power. If he were to truly explode forth. The green-robed elder had extraordinary experience. Of course he could tell that Learmonth had yet to use his ultimate attack. Generally speaking, extremely powerful experts like them would stake their lives on their ultimate attacks, which usually consumed a great deal of spiritual energy and divine power. Thus, unless a critical moment came, these ultimate experts generally wouldn't want to use their ultimate attacks. That damnable fellow. The green-robed elder immediately came to a decision. Right now, all I can do is find more high gods and have them attack the white-horned elder, while I personally go entangle that Learmonth for a while. The green-robed elder understood that there was no way the other high gods could entangle Learmonth. But to kill the white-horned elder, only a few high gods needed to join forces and sneak attack him. That was all that would be needed. As the battles continued unabated within the castle of sand, the number of high gods grew lower and lower. Salomon stood calmly in mid-air. "I hope Nissa is fine." Salomon was still worried in his heart. Swoosh. Suddenly, from the nearby wall, two figures appeared who shot straight towards Salomon, their wild releases of energy causing space to shudder. Humph. Salomon, with a flip of his hand, emitted multiple rays of black light. Those two figures let out miserable screams. One of them suddenly smashed against the floor, never to move again, while the other fled into the yellow sand walls, disappearing. "Want to kill me?" Salomon chuckled. The battles continued, and one high god fiend after another fell. Aside from that terrifying fiend, there are 4 high gods that are hard to deal with. Inigo heard the reports from his subordinates and began to frown. He didn't know that those 4 extremely hard to deal with high god fiends were the Edwards brothers and Salomon. Star rank didn't necessarily, completely testify as to one's strength. For example, a powerful fiend might only be a 1-star fiend as he might have just taken the fiend trials. But that didn't mean his power was only at the 1-star level. Salomon was a good example. On the surface, he was only a 4-star fiend. But his true power? Not all fiends could be judged by their star rank. No need to deal with those high gods. There's no profit from them. Inigo gave the order. His real goal was just those 2 old fellows. There was no need to kill all of the high god fiends. For now, no need to join forces. Attack as you please. Deal with all of the god-level fiends. For high gods to kill gods, naturally there was no need for them to join forces. Yes, young master. The high gods disappeared into the yellow sand. With this order being given, the god-level fiends within the castle fell into grave danger. Including Linley, Bibi, Delia, Nissa. A crisis had descended. Linley carefully walked through the yellow sand, his hands, legs, neck, and head all covered with an earthen yellow membrane. He looked as though he were a metal warrior. Linley had already used his pulse-guard armor to protect every part of his body. Swoosh! An explosive sword shadow suddenly descended upon Linley from the side. Linley only felt as though suddenly, he had transformed into a tiny boat that was currently being rocked by the wild waves of the ocean. Book 15, Priceless Treasure, Chapter 8, Many Dangers. A High God. Linley glided away like a bird in flight, gliding away alongside that explosive burst of sword energy while at the same time, the adamantine heavy sword appeared in his hand. Wielding it as though it were weightless, he sent it slamming over, and a multiple meter-long earthen yellow sword shadow chopped out. Pulsating essence attack. This was a type of material attack developed after fusing the essence of the earth and the throbbing pulse of the world. It was primarily reliant upon the essence of the earth, with the throbbing pulse of the world supporting it. Compared to the Voidwave sword, it was the opposite. The Voidwave sword was primarily reliant on the throbbing pulse of the world, while the essence of the earth supported it. Bang! The two forces collided, and the wild explosive force backlashed onto both. Linley borrowed that backlash force to flee, while the golden-haired youth also took a few steps back. He stared in astonishment at Linley. What a powerful sword! A god actually has such strength. This gold-haired youth was not angry, he was instead delighted. These high gods didn't have much interest in killing god-level fiends, but now this high god did. Just based on that sword alone, Linley was qualified to have him treat this fight seriously. Swoosh! Launching himself upwards, the high god shot out like an arrow, piercing through the air at high speed in pursuit of Linley. Linley, fleeing in front of him, had already begun moving at his maximum speed early on, but the enemy behind him continued to draw closer. This high god is so fast, and also, it seems he is a wind-style high god as well. From the opponent's previous attack, he could essentially sense that the opponent was a wind-style high god. Ha, flee! The gold-haired youth pursued at high speed while reaching out with his left hand, clawing at the air. What's this? While fleeing, Linley's face changed dramatically. His body seemed to have been bound by countless thin threads. Although Linley was still able to flee, a restrictive force seemed to act upon him. Even his speed fell down by half. This is the profound mysteries of dimensional space. Linley instantly realized what this was. He had seen Delia often use this technique against others. But now, Linley was the one who had been hit. Terrible! Linley's heart was filled with worry. The power of this high god in using this technique is much greater than Delia's. Linley knew that the strength of an attack was connected to one's divine power. The same type of profound mystery at different levels of divine power had different strength levels. In the blink of an eye, the gold-haired youth reached a distance of less than 10 meters from Linley. You won't be able to run. A loud laugh rang out, and a strange ripple spread over Linley. Linley's speed dropped yet again. And in his heart, he was shocked. The god realm of a high god. Linley knew long ago that facing a high god was extremely dangerous. Although there was a chance for victory, he only had a tiny chance. In terms of profound mysteries, this gold-haired youth is a high god who knows all 9 profound mysteries of the elemental laws of the wind. I can only hope that he hasn't fused any of the profound mysteries. Linley knew that the only chance of success he had was a soul attack. The Voidwave sword must not fail. Linley had continuously fled upon meeting this gold-haired youth, he didn't use his Voidwave sword at all. Linley didn't dare to rashly unleash it, he had to seize the best opportunity to kill the opponent in one blow. Otherwise, given the difference between him and his opponent, the opponent could easily rely on his speed to use a material attack to kill Linley. Thus, it was one thing to not unleash his ultimate attack, but if he was to unleash it, he had to succeed. Either you die or I die. Linley continued to grit his teeth, constantly thinking up new ways to flee. However, now that he was bound by the dimensional wind and the God realm, and given that Linley's speed was lower to begin with and was now only a third of his normal speed, the difference between them was so great, that unless something unexpected were to happen, the outcome of this battle was predetermined. Swish! Linley's body suddenly came to a halt. His face changed dramatically as he stared in front of himself. In front of Linley, behind him, and above him, there were 10 gold-haired youths. This gold-haired youth had actually created nearly 40 doppelgangers, completely encircling Linley. The situation just got worse. Linley was frantic. The 40 doppelgangers, which one is the real one? BB isn't present. I'm unable to determine which one is real. What should I do? Linley gripped the adamantine heavy sword, looking cautiously about him. The gold-haired youth had transformed into nearly 40 doppelgangers to encircle Linley. Haha, in front of me, you still want to run? Your speed is too slow, too slow. The gold-haired youth chuckled. Linley warily watched his opponent. Haha, die. The gold-haired youth chuckled, and then the nearly 40 doppelgangers almost simultaneously struck out. Instantly, Linley was completely covered by knife-edge palm attacks. Linley was completely unable to dodge, his only choice was to take the attacks head-on. He looks down on me. Linley, seeing this, was laughing coldly in his heart. Doppelganger was one of the 9 profound mysteries of the elemental laws of the wind. This doppelganger technique created bodies that had the aura of the original body. Generally speaking, others would find it very hard to tell the true body from the false bodies. This was an exceptional technique for fleeing. But as for attacking, it was weak. The doppelganger technique was meant for fleeing or to be used against weak experts. After all, the strength of each doppelganger was far inferior to that of the main body. The doppelgangers of high gods, in terms of strength, wouldn't be much stronger than that of gods. Humph. A single doppelganger's attack might not be strong, but the combined attacks of 30+ doppelgangers are considerable in power. In addition, my main body's knife-edge palm attack is included as well. The gold-haired youth was completely confident. This fellow is just a god. Bang! 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 In an instant, the many knife-edge palms landed on Linley's body. Linley in total was hit by 28 palm blows, and had been only able to dodge 10 of them. Of the 28 palm blows, 27 of them landed on Linley's pulse-guard armor and collapsed, while leaving Linley's pulse-guard armor completely unharmed. But the 28th palm blow landed directly on Linley's body. Crunch! The pulse-guard armor cracked open, and Linley's chest was struck by a vicious blow that all but went through his chest. Blood splattered outside, while his shattered white bones were revealed as well. This blow that split apart the pulse-guard armor had been launched by the gold-haired youth's real body. The gold-haired youth was surprised. Linley's pulse-guard armor was simply astonishing. A defensive high god artifact. The gold-haired youth chuckled. Unfortunately, you are a god. A defensive high god artifact in your hands won't be used to maximum effect. The gold-haired youth was disdainful. Crackle! Linley's divine power in his body bubbled out, immediately healing his wound. At the same time, the pulse-guard armor on his body once more reformed. As long as his divine power remained, this pulse-guard armor could instantly recover. A defensive artifact. Linley, in his heart, was disdainful. So this is the true body. From that attack just now, Linley was instantly able to tell which of the bodies in front of him was the true body. Already healed. The gold-haired youth was astonished. He immediately realized that Linley wasn't using a defensive artifact, but rather a material defense. Haha, your material attack isn't bad, and your material defenses aren't bad either. The 40 gold-haired youths circling Linley all spoke out. A pity. After speaking, the nearly 40 gold-haired youths instantly moved as one. Right now, whether the youth attacked as one or en masse didn't make much of a difference to Linley. From that exchange just now, Linley was already certain as to which one was the real body. The gold-haired youth's speed was far greater than Linley's. He easily and continuously changed directions as he drew near Linley. This brown-haired kid has a powerful material attack and defense. It seems I'll have to kill him with a soul attack. The gold-haired youth made up his mind. I refuse to believe that the soul defense of a god can be very powerful. Death take you. The gold-haired youth calmly lashed out with a sword blow, causing tiny tremors to appear in the air as well as a low humming sound. Linley's eyes narrowed. My only chance. Rumble, Linley's adamantine heavy sword struck out as well with his most powerful attack, the Void Wave sword. Clang. Linley's face suddenly changed. His Void Wave sword had met no opposition at all as it struck into the enemy's head. The enemy's attack, in turn, didn't carry any soul power at all. What? Linley suddenly had a bad feeling. Vibrations. A strange sort of vibration directly entered Linley's brain. This strange vibration first clashed against that soul-protecting sovereign artifact, the translucent scaly membrane around his soul, then shattered and dispersed. Linley had managed to withstand the attack, but the enemy. Ah! The high god's entire body swayed, a low growl emitting from his lips. Although this high god had become a high god on his own, and had an extremely pure soul and strong defense, in the face of Linley's Void Wave sword, created from the fusion of two profound mysteries, his soul still trembled and a large amount of spiritual energy immediately collapsed. He immediately became woozy. Die! Howling angrily, Linley followed up with another sword blow. The adamantine heavy sword struck directly onto the dazed gold-haired youth. Bang! The gold-haired youth's soul was no longer able to withstand it, and it directly collapsed. Swoosh! A figure suddenly appeared from within the gold-haired youth's corpse. Another one. Linley's eyes turned wide, but as if by reflex, he lashed out yet again. Once again, the Void Wave sword. Bang! That figure collapsed as well. Only now did Linley sit down. Having executed 3 Void Wave sword attacks in a row, Linley's spiritual energy had been nearly exhausted. Actually, when he executed the 3rd Void Wave sword, Linley had already begun to feel his head split. I was too nervous. The divine clone of that gold-haired youth was just a demigod clone. It wasn't worth me using the Void Wave sword at all. Linley glanced at the divine clone, then laughed inwardly at himself. Fortunately, that fellow finally died. Linley directly collected the gold-haired youth's interspatial ring, divine spark, and divine artifact. And then, Linley ran a few hundred meters away, enduring the pain in his head. He found an unassuming location and immediately retrieved an amethyst. The Void Wave sword uses up far too much spiritual energy. Linley stored the amethyst into his coiling dragon ring, which immediately refined it, causing surges of golden fog energy to enter Linley's consciousness. The dry, parched sea of consciousness once more began to throb with spiritual strength. Whew! The head-splitting pain began to subside, and Linley let out a long breath. Facing a high god really is dangerous. Linley, thinking back to that battle, said to himself, if that gold-haired youth had instead relied on his speed and material attacks to come at me repeatedly, he absolutely would have killed me. Linley quickly came to a conclusion based on the results of that battle. Those who become deities on their own will have their souls nurtured and transformed repeatedly by the natural laws, and so will have exceedingly strong soul defenses as well. Just gold-haired youth just now was able to take a hit from my Void Wave sword without dying. It seems as though in the future, I must be careful. Linley became all the more cautious. Linley had narrowly escaped the last attack, but the other fiends wouldn't be so lucky. How could it be easy for a god to overcome a high god? Linley was someone who had fused 2 profound mysteries of a law, which was extremely rare amongst gods. And more importantly, Linley had a damaged soul-protecting sovereign artifact which negated the gold-haired youth's attack. Otherwise, how could Linley's soul have withstood it? Big Bro isn't here, and BB isn't here either. Nissa was filled with panic. She took one careful step after another through this castle of sand. Just now, she had discovered the corpse of a fiend. Clearly, this castle of sand was filled with life-threatening dangers. Soundlessly, a skinny, callous male figure suddenly appeared from the wall behind Ennis. This little girl isn't bad. I'll kill her first. The callous man said quietly to himself. Just now, he had killed 3 god-level fiends. In front of him, god-level fiends weren't able to fight back at all. Looking at Nissa in front of him, the callous man laughed to himself. Let me end your life. Book 15, Priceless Treasure, Chapter 9, Blue Water Drop. As danger had descended upon her, Nissa's heart suddenly trembled, and she couldn't help but turn to look. Ah! Nissa was so terrified, her face turned as white as parchment, while at the same time, in her terror, she raised her speed to the limit, fleeing forward. You want to run? A hint of disdain was in the eyes of the callous-looking man. He immediately activated his god realm, and Nissa, who had been moving at high speed, instantly became restricted and slowed down. Nissa was only a god, and in her heart, she began to feel terror. BB, Big Bro, where are you? As she faced death, her thoughts were of BB and Salomon. At this moment, Nissa was right in the middle of a corridor opening. BB. Nissa's eyes immediately lit up. To her right, roughly 100 meters away, a figure appeared. It was BB, wearing his straw hat, his face filled with delight. But when he saw Nissa suddenly appear, he also saw that behind her, there was a high god. BB's facial expression instantly turned to that one of terror. A pity. I won't make it in time. Nissa could already sense the cold air of the sword energy behind her. Her eyes were filled with a hint of unwillingness and regret. BB, actually, right now, I just want to say a few words to you and hear your voice. In this castle of sand, gods were only able to stretch their divine sense out for less than 10 meters. How would they speak through divine sense? BB's eyes were filled with terror. No. BB cried out in a fierce voice. They were 100 meters away, and he was extremely fast, but that high god wasn't any slower than him. More importantly, the high god was too close to Nissa. Ninny, no. BB was filled with rage and regret. In the same instant BB saw Nissa. Linley was making his way alone through the castle of sand, which was filled with danger everywhere. Linley had just undergone a vicious battle. After a short recovery time, his strength had returned to peak condition. Suddenly, a look of delight appeared in Linley's eyes. BB. You aren't too far away from me. Right in front of me, there is a road heading close to your direction. It's possible that we will meet. I have a corridor in front of me as well. Boss, I'll head over as well. BB was extremely excited. Linley didn't imagine that although at first, when he had intentionally tried to meet with BB, he was unable to, after that vicious battle, just by casually walking around, he would draw closer to BB. Swoosh. Linley began to move quickly. Passing through curved hallways, he entered a corridor which headed straight towards BB. Haha, BB. Linley already saw the familiar figure wearing a straw hat at the end of the corridor. It was BB. Linley and BB were roughly 300 meters or so away from each other. They were each at the opposite ends of the corridor. As for this 300-meter-long corridor, it had 3 or 4 exits and branching corridors as well. Haha, boss, I see you. BB said, his face excited. I see you too. Linley's heart was filled with excitement. He couldn't help but unconsciously speed up even faster. Please don't let another wall suddenly appear in the center of this corridor. This was what Linley was worrying about. He had to come together with Bibi. That way, he wouldn't be separated from Bibi again. Swoosh. Roughly 10 meters ahead of Linley, a figure suddenly appeared from a branching corridor. Whoa, that scared me. What Linley feared the most was that a wall would appear, blocking him off from Bibi. She is. Linley's face instantly changed dramatically. It was Nissa, who was being pursued and attacked. Nissa saw that to her right, 100 meters away, Bibi was present. But she didn't realize that to her left was Linley. Bibi had been lost in his excitement at the coming reunion with Linley, but when he suddenly saw Nissa being pursued, his heart instantly turned ice cold. His excited, lively eyes suddenly became filled with terror. No! A fierce cry rang out. It had been so many years. Bibi had never fallen for a girl. This was the first time he had. Although Bibi liked to joke around, in his heart, he had sworn that he would accompany this adorable girl for his entire life. It was a very simple, pure thought. But Bibi had always kept it in his heart. Bibi wasn't able to rescue her in time. But Linley was. Hi God! Linley saw that a few meters behind Nissa, there was the figure of a skinny, cruel man. Instantly, his face changed. After the last battle he had undergone with the High God, Linley knew very well, that although he had fused two profound mysteries and a soul-protecting sovereign artifact, when fighting with the High God, his chance of victory was less than 50%. If the enemy was cautious, the chances of Linley dying would be extremely high. If he was to save her, he would have to use his ultimate attack. Acting so hastily, it would be very hard for him to kill the opponent. Once the opponent saw Linley using his ultimate attack, he would definitely grow cautious, and most likely Linley himself would be finished. But if he didn't save her, Linley might be able to find a better opportunity to kill the man in one blow. No. Linley could completely sense Bibi's terror, sense Bibi's soul shudder. His soul and Bibi's soul were linked. Linley could clearly sense the trembling of Bibi's soul. He didn't hesitate at all. Kill. A fierce look suddenly flashed in Linley's eyes, and the adamantine heavy sword in his hand slashed out in a perfect arcing line, and then a semi-translucent sword shadow that was a faint yellow color flew out of the adamantine heavy sword, striking directly towards the skinny, cruel-looking man. Soul attack, Void Wave Sword. As Linley attacked the enemy without any hesitation, the terrified Bibi also let out a fierce howl, while at the same time, an enormous illusion of a God-Eater rat appeared behind him. The mouth of the illusory God-Eater rat opened as it stared coldly at the skinny, cruel man. Innate divine ability, God-Eater. The skinny, cruel man had been chopping down with his sword towards Nissa, but Linley was very close to him, and the Void Wave sword attack instantly struck towards him. Not good. The skinny, cruel man's downward chopping sword blow instantly transformed into a blocking scrape. As he didn't know how strong the opponent was, the skinny cruel man immediately used his own most powerful soul attack, and an illusion of a green, electric serpent appeared, flying out from his sword. The Void Wave sword and the illusory electric serpent clashed. Bang! The illusory electric serpent vanished, while the Void Wave sword trembled twice, then vanished as well. So powerful! The skinny, cruel man's heart shook. The opponent's soul attack was actually on a level comparable to his own. To be precise, it was actually slightly more powerful. If this illusory sword attack had truly struck his soul, he probably would have had his soul dissipated. Right as he was feeling stunned, a strange ripple suddenly encapsulated his entire body. This was the innate divine ability, God-Eater. The skinny cruel man's body went stiff for a moment, but a moment later, he broke free. Ugh! The distant Bibi spat out a mouthful of blood, and his face turned pale as well. He only had the power of a god, but he wanted to use the God Eater ability against a high god. There was only one possible outcome. This God Eater ability was very unique. If it succeeded, it would devour and take away the opponent's divine spark, and the opponent wouldn't be able to resist at all. But if it failed, the opponent wouldn't be harmed at all. In addition, the amount of spiritual energy this technique consumed was quite astonishing. There are two of them. Only now did the skinny, callous man notice BB. What an unusual attack. The skinny, callous man immediately began to treat Linley and BB as major foes. However, in the skinny, callous man's heart, the one he was concerned about the most was Linley. This was because Linley's Void Wave sword was already at a level of power which could threaten his life. BB used the God Eater ability. Linley immediately ignored all else. Gritting his teeth, he took the opportunity to once more strike out with his adamantine heavy sword, launching his most powerful attack, the Void Wave sword, once more. But unfortunately, the impact of BB's God Eater ability on a high god was too minuscule. The skinny callous man's sword once more emitted an illusory electric serpent, clashing once more with Linley's Void Wave sword. This spectacle was virtually identical to the one earlier. The two soul attacks once more cancelled out. Crackle! From the body of the skinny, cruel man emerged 4 deep green lightning dragons. The 4 lightning dragons pounced straight towards Linley. Although the size of each lightning dragon wasn't too massive, with all 4 charging over at the same time, Linley was completely unable to dodge. Die! The callous, grim man watched this calmly. This is my most powerful lightning-type attack. Bang! The pulse-guard armor on Linley's body only resisted for an instant, then directly collapsed. Linley was sent smashing far away, with blood, flesh, and bones flying everywhere. His entire body had lost half of its mass as those lightning dragons had attacked Linley, trying to destroy him. BB had just been delighted, but then upon seeing Linley immediately face death, he grew terrified anew. Boss! BB's eyes were filled with concern. Not good. As Linley's pulse-guard armor was shattered, his body had immediately transformed. The Divine Earth clone and his main body immediately swapped, but despite swapping out quickly, Linley's Divine Earth clone still only had half its body and a head left. In the recent battles, Linley had used the Divine Earth clone. After all, the Divine Earth clone was the most powerful, and when using it to use attacks dependent on the laws of the Earth. Using his Earth clone meant the attacks would be most powerful. In this situation, Linley had to choose to switch bodies. After all, if his Divine Earth clone continued to take blows like these, the Divine Earth clone would most likely be shattered. I'll have to see how strong my dragon form's defense is. Linley's original body was dragon formed. Boom! The 4 lightning dragons finally dispersed. Linley collapsed where he stood from the explosion, the azure gold draconic scales covering his body broken and battered, and multiple spikes on his back shattered as well. His left arm had been completely blown off, while his waist had almost been blown through as well. What astonishing defense! The skinny man couldn't help but be amazed. Actually, the attack he had used just now had used up nearly half of its strength in breaking through the pulse guard armor. At the critical moment, Linley had swapped out his body, using his main body in dragon form to take it head on. Although it was very difficult, the defense in dragon form was indeed exceedingly great, just slightly inferior to the pulse guard armor. He was badly injured, but at least he had saved his life. What a talent! The skinny cruel man sighed to himself. Linley's soul attack and his defense, despite being just a god, the skinny, cruel man understood that if Linley was born into a major clan, he would definitely be one of their most highly valued talents to be cultivated. Unfortunately, you'll die in my hands. The skinny man said to himself calmly. Am I about to die? Linley's badly wounded body lay there on the ground. He couldn't help but feel a surge of helplessness. There was indeed a great difference between himself and a high god. Once the opponent noticed his void wave sword, then he probably would be finished. Crackle. Right at this moment, Linley sensed that from within the coiling dragon ring, surges of unique energy began to fill his body. Linley's body instantly was repaired, and the draconic scales and spikes on his back were all healed as well. At the same time, that unique energy filled his draconic scales, spikes, and every other part of his body, strengthening the power of Linley's draconic scales. On the surface of Linley's draconic scales, a layer of azure light was shining. What is this? Linley immediately filled the coiling dragon ring with his spiritual energy. The 3 blue drops of water. When Linley had become a deity, the coiling dragon ring had a single golden drop of liquid as well as 3 blue drops of water within it. At that time, the golden liquid had transformed Linley's dragon form, while Linley had yet to find a use for the 3 blue drops of water. But now, one of the 3 blue drops of water was emitting an azure energy that was filling Linley's body, strengthening Linley's dragon form. Huh! The skinny cruel man saw that Linley's body had instantly healed. His face couldn't help but change. Humph! The skinny cruel man let out a cold sneer. His hands stretched out like claws, and 6 lightning dragons pounced towards Linley. No! The frantic, furious BB had already charged next to the skinny, cruel man, but he wasn't going to make it in time to save Linley. BB's heart was filled with regret and self-hate. If Linley were to have died due to saving Nissa, BB would never forgive himself for the rest of his life. You Can Die Together. Book 15, Priceless Treasure, Chapter 10. Meeting. I feel so powerful. In a short amount of time, one of the 3 blue drops of water completely converted into energy, fusing with Linley's original body, repeatedly strengthening Linley's draconic scales. Linley's scales' defensive power was rising at an absolutely stupefying speed. The 3 blue drops of water had now become just 2. Huh! Linley suddenly was startled into wakefulness. 6 lightning dragons. Linley was shocked and frightened. 6 flashing lightning dragons bellowed and attacked Linley. Before this, the attack of just 4 flashing lightning dragons had not only shattered the pulse guard armor but also had caused serious injury to Linley. Now there were 6 of them. Linley wasn't able to form the pulse guard armor in time. The only thing he could do was swoosh. Linley flew backwards, trying to dodge. But how could a person's movement speed compare to the speed of an attack? Bang! The 6 bellowing lightning dragons all smashed against Linley, and even the nearby walls of sand exploded from the collision. Boss! BB, seeing Linley being struck by those 6 lightning dragons which exploded against his body, was terrified to the point of losing his mind. Don't die. The distant Nissa's heart was filled with terror as well. She didn't know what to do. If BB's boss dies, BB will definitely be miserable. His boss did this only for the sake of saving me. Nissa could only stand there in the distance. She didn't have any ability to interfere. This sense of helplessness filled Nissa's heart with guilt. BB, because Linley had been attacked, had lost his wits for a moment, but when experts were battling, how could they possibly lose their focus? Daydreaming in a battle. The skinny man's lightning-like sword flashed down viciously, striking against BB. BB's body was sent flying away, while at the same time, an illusory electric serpent ignored BB's defense, directly entering BB's body. A soul attack. Huh! The skinny man suddenly turned to look back. After the explosion of the 6 lightning dragons, Linley was just standing there, azure light flowing atop his azure golden draconic scales. Surges of power emanated from his draconic scales. The strength of his aura caused even the skinny man to feel terror in his heart. What is this aura? The skinny man couldn't believe it. He was certain that what he feared right now wasn't Linley himself, but rather it was the aura coming off of the draconic scales. Linley's cold, Dark golden eyes stared at the skinny man. His lips curved upwards slightly, and this skinny man was completely unable to ascertain if Linley was smiling or not. "I have to thank you," Linley said calmly. The skinny man was stunned. Thank him? Linley knew very clearly that if it hadn't been for the skinny man nearly destroying his original body, which caused this blue water drop to suddenly send its energy into his body and transform it, there is no way that Linley would have been able to utilize this blue water drop. Currently, he had used up one of them, but Linley was still overjoyed. This was because he could clearly sense that currently in dragon form, he possessed incomparable, boundless strength. Absolute strength. Physical strength of the body. Boss. BB's delighted voice rang out. What? The skinny man turned to look and was astonished. BB had suffered his soul attack, but hadn't died. How is this possible? A mere god who suffered my soul attack didn't die. The skinny man was completely unable to accept this, but instantly, he had a thought. Can it be that he has a soul-protecting divine artifact? Impossible. How can that be? The skinny man couldn't believe this conjecture. Soul-protecting divine artifacts were very special. They weren't like ordinary swords, sabers, armor, and other artifacts which were easy to forge. In the entire infernal realm, there were exceedingly few people capable of forging soul-protecting divine artifacts, and many high gods didn't have that sort of ability. The damnedest thing was, there were no soul-protecting divine artifacts for sale. Linley's group, upon arriving in the infernal realm, had yet to find a single soul-protecting divine artifact for sale. If there were, Linley would have bought one for Delia long ago. This was because once a person was killed, his soul-protecting divine artifact would definitely be damaged as well. A damaged soul-protecting divine artifact was generally useless. Also, there was more to it than that. Soul-protecting divine artifacts weren't made from special ores, they were forged from spiritual energy. For example, for Linley to repair his soul-protecting sovereign artifact, he had to use his spiritual energy to repair it. This was because, soul-protecting divine artifacts were made out of spiritual energy to begin with. Only, they had a rather special structure. Because they were made out of spiritual energy, soul-protecting artifacts couldn't be easily tamed and commanded just through blood binding. There were many profound mysteries that were involved in these things. Only the original creator of the soul-protecting divine artifact, by using some special methods, could allow for his soul-protecting divine artifact to be used by others. Thus, anyone who had a soul-protecting divine artifact had definitely received permission from the creator of the artifact. And every single creator of a soul-protecting divine artifact was, without a doubt, one of the ultimate experts of the infernal realm. Every single one was extremely accomplished in understanding the soul, and had reached terrifying heights. This kid with a straw hat, he has a major figure backing him up. The skinny man came to this judgment. And that draconian. The aura coming off from his body is so terrifying. The skinny man's heart quivered. What is going on? One has a soul-protecting divine artifact, while the other has such terrifying defense. Right now, the distant Nissa was overjoyed. BB's boss didn't die. BB's also fine. Wonderful, wonderful. Haha, boss, let's kill this bastard together. BB said through their souls. Fine. Linley was exceedingly happy as well. The powerful strength he felt in his dragon form caused Linley want to let loose. Swoosh. BB's dagger shot out like lightning towards the skinny man. Whoosh. Linley launched himself from the ground. Linley shot out like an arrow, exploding forward and moving so quickly that his body turned into a blur. Linley's right leg danced out like a saber, chopping down with a fierce, azure golden light towards the neck of that skinny man. The speed was too fast. Who cares who you are? Kill. The skinny man was angry now as well. Clang. The long sword in his hand collided head-on with the draconic scales on Linley's right leg, creating a metallic ringing sound. After having absorbed a drop of that blue drop of water and having been strengthened to a terrifying degree, Linley's draconic scales were not one whit inferior to a high god artifact. Linley's body landed. How is that possible? The skinny man's face changed dramatically. Today, he had been shocked too many times. BB came howling forth as well. You have a soul-protecting divine artifact. Then, I shall use a material attack. The skinny man's body once more emitted those 4 lightning dragons towards BB, who didn't dodge at all, instead charging at high speed towards those 4 lightning dragons. Boom! The 4 lightning dragons landed directly on BB, then dispersed, but BB wasn't hurt at all. Die! BB's eyes were filled with murder. How is this possible? The skinny man's mind was in utter chaos. Linley's freakishly strong draconic scale defense, BB's soul-protecting divine artifact, and now, BB used his terrifying physical defense to blast through one lightning dragon after another. The skinny man was at the verge of insanity. Who are you guys? Swish. A metallic tail slapped over lightning fast. Clang. The sword and the iron whip-like draconic tail clashed. The skinny man borrowed that force to retreat backwards. Ignoring all else, what he decided he needed to do was, flee. Freaks. 2 freaks. The skinny man cursed angrily. Such freakishly strong defense, and a soul-protecting divine artifact as well. Can they be 2 young masters from a major clan? But how can the young masters of a large clan come wandering around at the god level, without a single protector? The skinny man knew very well. The infernal realm had existed for a long time, and within it, there were extremely ancient, great clans. Those great clans were able to exist for countless years. Naturally, they had power to rely on and special abilities. For the young masters of these clans to possess soul-protecting artifacts was very normal. Linley and BB's performances were very much similar to that of those young masters of those clans. Only, why would high and noble young masters get involved with this sort of escort mission? Big bro, kill him. Nissa's voice suddenly rang out. Huh. The skinny man was suddenly startled into wakefulness. However, a ray of black light flashed past his eyes. The skinny man didn't even have a chance to react before the dark black light entered his body. The skinny man immediately collapsed. Humph. Salomon stared coldly at the corpse on the ground. Big brother. Nissa immediately ran over, throwing herself into Salomon's arms and beginning to cry. Big bro, just now I almost was killed by him. Sob, after having experienced the terror of a near-death experience, then being worried for Linley and BB, she finally was no longer able to hold back her tears upon seeing her big brother. Don't cry. Salomon comforted her. Big bro, just now, if it wasn't for Linley, I would be dead already. Nissa lifted her head to look at her big brother. Just now, Nissa immediately explained everything. Salomon, hearing his sister's explanation, immediately turned to look at Linley. Upon seeing Linley's dragon form, Salomon was slightly surprised. However, his experience was much greater than his little sister's, and he immediately bowed and said thankfully, Linley, thank you. You saved my little sister's life. I, Salomon Boyd, will never forget this. Salomon Boyd? This surname one which Linley didn't particularly understand the importance of. Boyd was a clan name which Linley had never heard of. Big bro, Nissa stared in astonishment at her big brother, Salomon. Her big brother wouldn't easily reveal his identity. Why did he do so now? For the sake of BB, even if I had to risk death, I would rescue Nissa. Linley said. At the same time, he returned to his divine earth clone, his body once more becoming covered with the pulse guard armor. Boss. BB and Linley exchanged a glance. Let's hurry up and go. Linley said hurriedly. I don't know what the situation is with Delia. Linley was worried about Delia. Immediately, Linley, Bibi, Salomon, and Nissa began to traverse the sand castle. After having absorbed that blue drop of water, his dragon form had quickly raised in power to yet another monstrous level. Linley had already made his decision. My main body's dragon form has an exceedingly strong material defense, while it also has a soul-protecting sovereign artifact. It has sufficient material and spiritual defense. In the future, if I face an ordinary high god, I am capable of killing them head-on. However, the soul-protecting sovereign artifact is damaged. Linley was still somewhat worried. Ordinary high gods using a soul attack aren't able to use it to seek out a weak spot. But in Moon Lake Castle, when I was hit by the soul poison of the god's lair arrow, the soul poison was actually able to search for the weak point in my damaged soul-protecting sovereign artifact to attack my soul. Linley understood. It was just that the opponents he had encountered thus far weren't very powerful. If his enemy was a powerful high god, the high god would be able to use his soul attack to seek out the weak points, then attack the gap. Thus, in the end, I can't completely reveal this trump card. Unless it was critical, Linley wouldn't easily reveal the secret of him being able to dragon form. After all, only a trump card that remained hidden would be effective. Besides, his pulse guard armor wasn't weak either. Linley and the other three walked shoulder by shoulder, but were unable to find Delia. Strange. Why has the sand castle stopped transforming? Bibi muttered. Linley had noticed this as well. Perhaps, the person who set up the castle of sand is currently busy battling, and so he has no energy to deal with changing the castle. Salomon guessed. Salomon's words were correct. At this moment, the green-robed elder, Mr. Wind, was currently battling with Learmonth. Bang! A terrifying explosion occurred, while at the same time, the entire castle of sand seemed to have lost its controller. With a rustle and rumble, the sand began to flow down, and the entire castle of sand in the blink of an eye transformed into boundless amounts of sand dunes. The castle of sand was gone. The destruction of the castle of sand allowed everyone to see the sky, to see the blood sun. There were quite a few corpses lying about the sand. Many of the fiends had died miserable deaths, while the lucky survivors were in the midst of the desert. All of them seemed to be astonished, including Inigo and his subordinates. What is going on? Inigo didn't understand. How did the castle of sand which his teacher controlled suddenly collapse? Linley was staring at his surroundings. Immediately, he saw from afar the ashen-faced Delia, who had the death god golem by her side. Delia. Linley immediately rushed over, overjoyed. Linley. Delia's eyes were immediately filled with joy as well, and she too rushed over towards Linley. Book 15, Priceless Treasure, Chapter 11, Secret. In the middle of the empty desert, there were dozens of broken, blood-stained corpses. Both the forces of the fiends as well as the forces of Inigo came to a halt in their attacks, while Linley and Delia tightly embraced each other. Delia. Only now did Linley settle down. Ever since they had been trapped into the castle of sand, Linley had been feeling a sense of terror deep in his heart. He was terrified of Delia dying. Linley would forever remember how Delia had been when she was young and at the Ernst Institute with him. And then, their reunion meeting at the O'Brien Empire. Decades had passed in what seemed like moments, and Delia had become the other half of Linley's life. When he saw her, Linley's heart grew calm. And didn't Delia feel just the way Linley did? Thank you, heavens. Delia said softly in Linley's arms. Linley, just now, it was so dangerous. I almost got killed by that high god, but I didn't want to die, I wanted to see you. Delia, thinking back to the near-death struggle she had just undergone, felt her heart tremble. In the face of great danger, Delia had really gone all out, using both the death god golem as well as her profound mysteries of the elemental laws of the wind. Fortunately, she also knew the doppelganger technique, and was also proficient at the dimensional wind. This allowed her to be lucky enough to escape. "I won't let you be in any danger ever again." Linley held Delia by the hand. Holding his loved one's hand, Linley felt that his life and his soul were incomparably rich and filling. Just as Linley and Delia were absorbed in the joy of meeting again. Bang! A terrifying explosion sounded out in mid-air. A ray of green light and a ray of black light clashed multiple times, each time causing the world to shake. And then, the two rays of light landed on the desert sands, transforming into the green-robed elder and a black-robed Learmonth. The green-robed elder's face was ashen. He stared at Learmonth, his heart filled with extreme terror. "This Learmonth's power is even more frightening than I had anticipated. His sword techniques in the ways of destruction have reached such a terrifying level." Prior to this, the green-robed elder had only wanted to tie Learmonth up for a while. Unfortunately, Learmonth's power was far greater than he had imagined. This had resulted in the green-robed elder being the one to fall into peril instead. He didn't even dare to allow himself to be distracted by controlling the castle of sand. Thus, he voluntarily released the castle of sand, focusing entirely on this terrifying opponent, Learmonth. Learmonth held his long sword in his hand, looking calmly at the green-robed elder, a faint hint of a smile playing at his lips. "Your power is not bad. You are worthy of receiving my most powerful sword attack." The green-robed elder's face instantly changed dramatically. "What? Most powerful attack?" The green-robed elder's heart turned cold. Before this, he had been able to stay alive, but he had to use all his strength to do so. The experts who were watching, upon hearing Learmonth's words, were all astonished. "Delia, let's move backwards a little bit." Linley held Delia by the hand, retreating to where Salomon and Bibi were. Watching these experts battle from a safe distance. "I really rather look forward to seeing what their attacks look like." Prior to this, when they encountered that bandit ambush, Learmonth's sword attack had stunned Linley. This chance in front of him was all the more precious. "Those two old fellows played me." Inigo cursed to himself. He glanced towards Salomon. "There's no mistake about it, but we don't have any more chances. It seems as though teacher is unable to hold on any longer. It's best if I leave." Inigo immediately, stealthily merged his entire body into the sands, disappearing. Right now, everyone's attention was on those two ultimate experts, and nobody was paying attention to Inigo. In addition, on the side of the fiends, the only one who knew Inigo was that luckily surviving white-horned elder, but the white-horned elder hadn't noticed the distant Inigo at all. Boom! Learmonth's entire body exploded forth with a terrifyingly powerful sword intent. Learmonth's body actually emitted an enormous illusory sword that radiated the way of destruction. Learmonth seemed to have transformed into the nucleus of that enormous illusory sword, and a fierce, sharp sword energy was swirling around it. The power of the sword intent was rapidly rising. Crackle, the sword intent actually caused space to shudder. Everyone seeing this had their faces change. The infernal realm was one of the higher planes, and its stability was far greater than that of a material planes. The sword energy hadn't even been released yet, and yet it already possessed such power. At what sort of level then would Learmonth's most powerful sword attack be at? Madman. He's truly a madman. The green-robed elder's heart was cold. Learmonth's power had already caused him to feel dread. Humph. So what if you are powerful? The elemental laws of the wind are the best for fleeing. The green-robed elder, faced with Learmonth, had already been awed and frightened by him. Suddenly, he transformed into hundreds of doppelgangers, dispersing in every direction. One of the 9 profound mysteries of the wind, doppelganger. So many doppelgangers. Delia was shocked, and Linley let out a surprised breath as well. When Delia used the doppelganger technique, she was only capable of 9 doppelgangers. This green-robed elder, however, had transformed into hundreds of them. The same profound mystery, doppelganger, when used by people of different levels of ability would have tremendously great differences in power. The doppelganger technique is indeed an excellent fleeing method. Hundreds of doppelgangers, all of whom are hard to tell apart by their aura. Learmonth will find it hard to catch the right one, Linley said to himself. However, Linley continued to watch Learmonth, waiting to see what his reaction would be. Fleeing? How disappointing! Learmonth's voice rang out. At the same time, rumble. In an area of 1,000 meters surrounding Learmonth, out of nowhere, countless surges of sword energy appeared. The hundreds of fleeing doppelgangers were smashed into powder by the sword energy. In the blink of an eye, all of the hundreds of doppelgangers were annihilated, leaving behind only a single green-robed elder. How is this possible? The green-robed elder's face changed dramatically. Learmonth flew towards him at high speed, striking out like a viperous dragon. Wherever his body passed, many ripples in space appeared. The speed of Learmonth wasn't lower than the green-robed elder at all. I won't be able to flee. The green-robed elder instantly understood this upon witnessing the other person's speed. The green-robed elder retreated backwards, while at the same time, a silver, string-like sword appeared in his hands. Since I can't flee, then I'll go all out. The green-robed elder's eyes were now filled with a ferocious killing intent as well, and green energy swirled around his body, forming into what appeared to be a solid dragon. Gruol! The massive green dragon bellowed. Watching the battle, Linley felt astonished. Essence of the wind and the profound mysteries of music. Linley could immediately tell how powerful this attack by the green-robed elder was. That enormous green dragon is not only capable of protecting his body, it is also capable of creating musical attacks to affect the enemy. This was a support ability. Haha, starpoint explosions. The normally calm, emotionless Learmonth was now revealing his wild side. Laughing madly, the long sword in his hand shot out. The long sword pierced through the air. As it did, in mid-air, a black hole appeared as the long sword twisted through the cracks of reality. Wherever the long sword passed, tears in space constantly appeared, and everything around it was transformed into nothingness. Facing Learmonth's most powerful attack, the green-robed elder slowly brandished out that silver thread-like sword. Rumble. The silver sword was even longer and even narrower than blood violet. It lashed out like a whip. Crack. Under the lashing of that silver sword, space itself split apart, creating an extremely narrow spatial tier, as a strange music rang out. The entire desert was utterly silent. Linley and the others were all utterly astonished by these two sword attacks. One was a terrifying sword that contained within it the way of destruction, while the other used the sharpness of the elemental laws of the wind. Boom! The silver sword, moving in a strange way, struck down upon the edge of Learmonth's long sword. Bang! The silver sword suddenly exploded, transforming into countless silver shards which flew everywhere. Swish! The tip of the long sword almost instantly pierced through the green-robed elder's forehead. It was so fast that the green-robed elder wasn't able to dodge at all. His eyes were filled with shock, and fresh blood slowly flowed down from his forehead. Bang! The green-robed elder's corpse fell down. That soft sword, that simple whipping and chopping motion, Linley's heart suddenly grew agitated. It was as though something had come to his mind, and he immediately shut his eyes quietly. In the desert, everyone else was still watching those two experts. But Linley was lost in meditating and in his insights. Indeed, the green-robed elder's power was slightly weaker than Learmonth's. But as far as his insights into the elemental laws of the wind went, he had already fused quite a few profound mysteries. That simple whipping motion included multiple profound mysteries. Recently, Linley had been stuck in a bottleneck with regards to the profound truths of velocity. He had been pondering on how to break through this bottleneck and completely fuse the fast and slow profound mysteries. After the life and death struggle within the desert castle, as well the fluctuating feelings of worry and then calm. And now after seeing the green-robed elder's most powerful attack, Linley had already begun to create cracks in the bottleneck of the profound truths of velocity. The green-robed elder's corpse lay there on the ground. Learmont let out a sigh. This sigh contained within it a hint of disappointment. Learmont glanced at the corpse of the green-robed elder. You both use flexible swords, but your power is far too weak when compared to the blood-violet fiend. Your time seems to have been all spent in defense and in trapping people. With regards to offense, too weak. Learmont said softly. A person suddenly appeared from within the green-robed elder's corpse. It was the divine clone of the green-robed elder. Only, this divine clone was a mere god. Learmont. You speak the truth. The green-robed elder said astringently. Only, in the future, I'll never be able to train in the elemental laws of the wind again. The green-robed elder didn't try to flee. His divine clone was only at the god level. How could he flee? Mr. Learmont, please kill him. The white-horned elder walked over, his eyes filled with hatred. He's already killed my brother. I hope you will kill him, or allow me to personally deal with him. The white-horned elder's heart was filled with hate. Him and his elder brother, the black-horned elder, had been together for many years. Although they had known that this return trip to the Jade Float continent would be dangerous, when his elder brother had died, the white-horned elder's heart was still filled with rage and hate. No need for you to personally act. Learmont said. In Learmont's mind, although the green-robed elder only had a god-level divine clone left, he was once an extremely powerful expert. Experts would not tolerate being humiliated. The green-robed elder glanced at him, then said to Learmont, Learmont, I accept my loss to you. If you are willing to let me live, I will tell you a secret. What are you doing? The white-horned elder immediately grew frantic. The green-robed elder laughed coldly. Are you afraid? Swoosh. The white-horned elder immediately flew forward, his eyes filled with a killing intent. Only, a sword flash suddenly struck out upon the white-horned elder, knocking him flying back. Mr. Learmont, you. The white-horned elder. Learmont let out a calm laugh. I'm a little curious as to what the secret is. As he spoke, Learmont looked at the green-robed elder. The white-horned elder was frantic. The green-robed elder glanced disdainfully at the white-horned elder, then nodded and said, Fine, I'll tell you. In truth, this employer who you have been escorting on this mission is in reality, an old servant of the Boyd clan of the Cold Calm prefecture of the Jade Float continent. You, the white-horned elder was utterly frantic. Learmont, you, how can you? Learmont glanced at him coldly. Shut your mouth. The green-robed elder's face immediately had a hint of a smile appear on it. He continued, after the Boyd clan was destroyed, these two old fellows took the vast fortune which the Boyd clan had accumulated over countless years and fled. Learmont, I think you too can imagine, how astonishing the amount of wealth which a powerful clan accumulated over countless years is. The white-horned elder's face was ashen. At this time, next to Bibi, Nissa's face was filled with rage as well. But Salomon only watched coldly. Book 15, Priceless Treasure, Chapter 12. A Breakthrough in Wind. Boyd Clan. Bibi had a thought, and he couldn't help but glance towards the nearby Salomon. Although Bibi was rather rambunctious, he was very smart and insightful. When Linley had saved Nissa, Salomon had, for whatever reason, revealed his true name when thanking Linley, Salomon Boyd. At that time, Bibi hadn't paid much attention. But now that he heard it again, Bibi began to grow puzzled. Nissa has been with me for so long, but she's never been willing to tell me what her surname is. Bibi began to suspect. Since that's the case, the surname must be very important. Salomon only recently told my boss. Since his family name is Boyd. Can this Boyd be the same Boyd as the clan this green-robed elder is referring to? BB mused secretly, while at the same time looking towards Linley. Only 3 people had been present when Salomon had said his surname: Linley, BB, and Nissa. Boss actually closed his eyes and began to meditate. BB couldn't help but find himself caught between laughter and tears. Next, BB turned to look towards the distant Learmonth, the green-robed elder, and the white-horned elder. It seems as though the situation is about to change. Will Learmonth attack out of greed? BB mused to himself. Indeed, right now, the situation had just become very terrible for the white-horned elder. He hadn't anticipated that the green-robed elder would actually voluntarily reveal this. The white-horned elder understood that his power was far inferior to Learmonth's. If Learmonth wanted to attack, then, even if the young master helped out, we wouldn't be able to deal with Learmonth. The white-horned elder understood. In addition, it won't just be Learmonth alone who will turn red-eyed with greed upon learning the secret. The Edwards brothers are here as well. The Edwards brothers had also escorted them on the mission, and had yet to reveal any startling abilities. However, not a single one of them had died. This gave testament to their strength. No matter what, even if I die, I cannot reveal the young master's identity. The white-horned elder made up his mind. Oh, you said Boyd clan. Learmonth raised an eyebrow. The Boyd clan of the Jadefloat Continent's Coldcom Prefecture is indeed an ancient clan. Even though I am here in the Redbud Continent, I've heard of the fame of the Boyd clan. The green-robed elder said, of course. You can imagine how wealthy the Boyd clan is, Learmonth. The Edwards brothers looked at each other, secretly speaking through divine sense. Oh ho, things are getting messy. BB looked at the distant Edwards brothers, then looked at Learmonth, before finally looking at the weakest actor, the white-horned elder. This old fellow is almost certainly going to die. There's too many people who would be greedy for this treasure. The white-horned elder said furiously, Mr. Learmonth, I'm your employer, you. Shut your mouth. Learmonth glanced at him calmly. The green-robed elder couldn't help but laugh, while at the same time saying, Learmonth, I'll leave now. As he spoke, the green-robed elder prepared to leave. Swish. A black sword energy pierced through the green-robed elder's skull. The green-robed elder's eyes were filled with shock and disbelief, and then he fell to the ground. The final remaining god-level divine clone of this green-robed elder died, just like that. This. The white-horned elder, Edwards. And the others were all shocked. Learmonth glanced calmly at the green-robed elder. I only told you to tell me the secret. I never agreed to spare you in exchange. You killed one of my employers. How could I not kill you? And then Learmonth turned to look at the white-horned elder. The white-horned elder's face instantly turned ashen. Fine. If you want to kill me, then kill me. Having seen Learmonth's power, the white-horned elder didn't try to resist at all. He said coldly, since you were willing to kill Mr. Wind, I am content. The white-horned elder was already prepared for death. He murmured to himself, young master, you'll have to rely on yourself now. If I kill you, who will pay me my escort fee? Learmonth asked. The white-horned elder was astonished. And then, Learmonth walked away while saying calmly, hurry up and prepare the metallic life form. We are going to head out. He isn't going to kill me. The white-horned elder was unable to believe it. The 10+ lucky survivors amongst the fiends stared towards Learmonth in astonishment as well. It must be understood anyone who cared about money at all would find it hard not to grow greedy for the wealth of the vast fortune of a massive clan. In addition, killing the white-robed elder would have been very easy. What is going on with this Learmonth? The 3 Edwards brothers looked at each other. Learmont's reaction had caused the Edwards brothers to be unable to implement their plan. "Big brother, let's just endure for now." Learmont was able to refrain from being greedy, but the three Edwards brothers were not. This was the massive fortune of an ancient clan. The fame of the Boyd clan was so great, it echoed like thunder. "Wait a while before heading out." Salomon's voice rang out. "My friend here is currently training." Learmont, the three Edwards brothers, the white-horned elder, and the luckily surviving remnants of the fiends all looked over. Linley was standing there right there in the sands, his body surrounded by a faint swirl of wind. Indeed, he was training. This sight caused everyone to be extremely surprised. He started training, just like that. The lucky survivors amongst the fiends were all shocked. To immediately begin training having just concluded a life and death struggle, that truly was crazy. Waiting for him alone? Wake him up. The second of the three Edwards brothers said with a frown. Him, a 5-star fiend, wait for a god. He didn't have that sort of patience. Bibi, hearing this, couldn't help but frown. Intriguing, intriguing. Learmont looked at Linley, a hint of a smile on his face. We aren't in any rush to leave. Let's wait a while. Since Learmont had made his decision, the three Edwards brothers wouldn't say anything now. Immediately, the surviving fiends took up temporary residence within the desert. After this great battle, the high gods only numbered Learmont, the three Edwards brothers, and Salomon, while for the gods, including Linley's group, only 13 survived. Time passed on. In the blink of an eye, 3 days passed. The fiends were very patient, and didn't care about these 3 days at all. How long will the boss be training for? Bibi, seeing Linley remain in his meditative state, was growing frantic. The fiends aren't impatient yet, but if too much time passes, they definitely will grow impatient. But disturbing the boss when he is training will have a major impact on him. Bibi understood that Linley's sudden decision to meditate must have meant that he had a sudden insight. This sort of opportunity was very precious. Once interrupted, it would be hard for him to once more enter this state. Rumble. A surge of unique ripples of law descended from the heavens, encapsulating Linley. He made a breakthrough. Everyone, including Learmont, immediately opened their eyes to look towards Linley. They all understood that this descent of the natural laws was the sign of someone breaking through to become a deity naturally. Linley hovered in the air, while at the same time, his divine wind clone came out from his body, a light green-robed Linley. Rumble. A divine spark which emanated a green light emerged from Linley's head, hovering there in the air above him. A large amount of wind elemental essence, under the guidance of the natural laws, directly converged upon the divine spark, which slowly began to transform. Moments later, that demigod-level divine wind spark had transformed into a god-level divine wind spark. The ripples of the natural laws subsided, and Linley opened his eyes. Linley, having made the breakthrough, now saw that a large group of people were around him, staring. Congratulations, Linley. You now have another god-level divine clone. Salomon said with a laugh. Learmont nodded slightly as well. He looked towards Linley with an appraising gaze. Very nicely done. You even gained insights during a life and death crisis. Learmont very much appreciated the sort of person who could make a breakthrough even during a life and death crisis. He himself loved combat and challenges. As for money, as Learmont saw it, having enough money to spend was sufficient. The so-called fortune of the Boyd clan was something which Learmont didn't care about at all. Learmont's goal was to become a 7-star fiend, then challenge an Azura. Become one of the 108 Azuras of the infernal realm. The three Edwards brothers glanced at Linley. They only chuckled. A mere god. What was there to be proud of? The Edwards brothers didn't hold Linley in any particular regard at all. They immediately looked at the white-horned elder. "Hey, that kid has made his breakthrough. Let's head out." "All right. Head out," the white-horned elder immediately said. "Head out." Only now did Linley come to the realization that all the other fiends had been forced to wait here for him when he had suddenly begun to meditate. "BB, how long did I meditate for?" Linley asked through his spirit. 3 days. "Boss, you really are amazing. Your divine wind clone has reached the god level as well." BB was boundlessly delighted for Linley. Linley secretly let out a sigh of relief. Not too bad. Just 3 days. If he had been training for half a year with the others all accompanying him, Linley would have felt extremely embarrassed. The Infernal Realm. A desolate mountain range within the Redbud continent. Inigo stood there beneath a waterfall, 2 high gods behind him. "I didn't expect that the Boyd clan actually has a successor," Inigo said to himself. Although that fellow was only allowed to enter the Boyd clan's estate a single time before being sent out, luckily enough, I remembered him. Salomon's identity, even within the Boyd clan, was a major secret. As he had entered the clan's estate only a single time before being sent out caused there to be very few people who knew who Salomon was. There were very few people who knew that Salomon had a connection to the Boyd clan. But Inigo, thanks to a stroke of luck, had found out by accident. And this time, when Inigo saw Salomon, he instantly understood. No wonder those 2 old fellows fled to the Redbud continent, then tried to go back. Inigo said to himself. However, since I now know, then. "Young master, what shall we do?" The 2 subordinates behind him looked at him. Inigo said emotionlessly, "We head out." As he spoke, Inigo flew at high speed towards the north, and the 2 high gods behind him immediately followed. The metallic lifeform was constantly pressing forward. It had shrunk yet again. After all, there were very few people inside it now. Within the metallic lifeform. Linley and Delia's room. The fast and slow aspects of the profound truths of velocity have been completely fused. Only the sword attack that is both hard and soft is the sharpest, most powerful sword attack. Linley understood now why experts of the elemental laws of the wind found flexible swords to be so suited for them. Flexible swords allowed one to bring out the full strength of the profound mysteries. After having seen the green-robed elder and Learmont's sword intense, Linley had some new thoughts regarding his usage of the sword as well. Unpredictable and fierce. This represents the most powerful attack of the profound truths of velocity. Linley continued to visualize them in his head. He was hard at working trying to make the attacks of the profound truths of velocity more powerful and to apply it better. This attack primarily relied on the profound truths of velocity. Naturally, it was a material attack. If I combine this material attack with my dragon form, Linley mused to himself. The dragon-formed body is incomparably tough, and in terms of both strength and speed, it has reached a very high level. If I take the strength I have in dragon form, then combine it with the profound truths of velocity, then put it all on display through Blood Violet, the power will definitely be substantial. The same profound mystery, when used by a high god, would be far more powerful than when a god used it. This was because the mystery would be exerted through the divine power of a high god. After dragon forming, however, Linley's strength, defense, and speed were even more monstrous than most ordinary high gods. This was a body that was as tough as a divine artifact. Linley was also beginning to gain a clearer and clearer understanding of the power of his most powerful sword attack. In the blink of an eye, 3 months passed. Unfortunately, there's no place to test it out within the metallic life form, Linley said to himself. His sword attack was now able to easily chop apart this metallic life form. If they truly were to fight here, most likely the white-horned elder and the other fiends would be enraged. Linley. Suddenly, a voice rang out. Oh, Salomon, it's you. Linley saw that Salomon was outside his door. Upon seeing Salomon, Linley thought about what Bibi had told him regarding the proceedings when he was training. He hadn't heard the green-robed elder discuss the Boyd clan, but upon returning to the metallic life form, of course Bibi had told him everything. This Salomon, can he be the master of this clan? Linley wondered to himself. Salomon said with a laugh, "Linley, there's something I wish to discuss with you."